list, Ms. Maria Prexi Merehildo, Technical Assistant of Legislative Liaison Office. Pangwi. For the Department of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Von Ryan Pangwi, Acting Director. That is it for our resource persons for today, Your Honor.
Thank you, Comsec. Moving on to the next item in our agenda for today, we have here the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Acop,
may I respectfully move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting and consider it as approved. So move, Mr. Chair.
is there any second to the motion?
Second.
Second.
Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Your
The reading
Honor?
of the minutes of the previous meeting is dispensed with and is hereby approved.
Your Honor, may I be recognized, Your Honor?
Yes, the Comsec is recognized.
Your Honor, we have today present 10 regular members and 4 ex-officio. There is a quorum, Your Honor.
Okay, there is a quorum. Noted.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Acop,
since we are nearing the 60-day period of our hearing, may I move that pursuant to Section 15 of the Rules of Procedure governing inquiries in aid of legislation, requiring a committee to terminate an inquiry within 60 calendar days unless a majority vote of the members present, there being a quorum, the committee deems it necessary to extend such inquiry. May I therefore move to extend the period of inquiry in aid of legislation of the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability of the subject inquiry. So move, Mr. Chair.
Second. Second.
the motion is duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried. The committee hearing of the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability is extended. Thank you. We will now proceed to the next item in our agenda. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Welcome to the 4th public hearing of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. Before we start, we thank our guest resource persons and witnesses for understanding why we had to postpone the previously scheduled hearing on October 28. Ito ay upang matulungan bumangon muli ang ating mga kababayan na lubhang nasalanta ng Bagyong Christine. Narito tayo ngayong araw upang talakayin muli ang issue ng pondo ng bayan. Pondong mas nailagak sana sa mga kababayan nating naapektuhan ng mga nakalipas na bagyo. Earlier this year ay pumasa sa Kamara at inaprubahan ang Republic Act No. 12009 o ang New Government Procurement Act. Binabalangkas ng batas na ito ang mga pundasyon ng government procurement, kabilang dito ang prinsipyo ng transparency, competitiveness, and participatory. Ngunit pagdating sa confidential funds, binabalanse ang prinsipyo ng transparency sa national security. Kung kaya't kapag confidential funds na ang pinag-uusapan, hindi basta-bastang nalalaman kung saan ito ginagamit at kung kanino dapat bumili. This committee, however, recognizes that confidential funds are necessary to ensure safety and national security. Ngunit dahil ang confidential funds ay natural na palihim kung gamitin, madaling maabuso ang paggamit nito, lalo na kung hindi mahigpit ang patakaran sa paggastos nito. Natural lamang na ang mga pagkakalooban ng confidential funds ay mga ahensyang mapagkakatiwala ang gagamitin ito para sa mga programang pangseguridad ng bansa. Ito ang pakay ng inquiry ng komiting ito. Inaalam natin kung, number 1, saan at paano pwedeng pagsamantalahan ang confidential funds. Number 2, ano ang ahensya ng pamahalaan ba ang karapat-dapat pagkalooban nito? At ang ikatlo, ano ang dapat ilagay sa batas upang maiwasang maabuso ang paggamit nito upang protektahan ang kaban ng bayan mula sa mga abuso? Ganun na lamang ang pagkadismaya marahil ng karamihan sa mga natutuklasan natin dito sa House Blue Ribbon Committee. Nakita natin dito kung paano ginamit at ginastos ng Office of the Vice President at ng Department of Education ang pondong kompidensyal na ipinagkaloob sa kanila sa mga taong 2022 and 2023. Marahil, pwede nang masabing improper ang gamit sa confidential funds ng mga ahensyang ito. Upang mas mabigyan pa tayo ng linaw, nararapat na masagot ang katanungang ito. Anong nangyari sa pera ng taong bayan? Masasagot lamang ito ng dalawang tao. Una, ang head of agency, which in the case of both the OVP and the DepEd is the Vice President. At ikalawa, ang Special Disbursement Officer, SDO, na sila Miss Gina Acosta para sa OVP at Mr. Edward Fajarda para sa DepEd. Ngunit ni isa sa mga ito ay hindi nagpapakita sa atin. Pakita po yung slides.
Your Honor, the Information Technology Department is having difficulty in flashing it. There you go, Your Honor.
Dito po makikita po natin yung dalawang slides na nagpapakita po ng matrix kung paano po ginamit ang 2022 and 2023 OVP and DepEd confidential funds na na-release, in-encash at niliquidate ng Vice President at SDOs. Indicate other signatories to the DVs, checks, LRs and ARs and their relationship to the VP. Ang tumitestigo lang sa ating investigasyon ay sina former USEC Gloria Mercado at USEC Annalyn Sevilla mula sa DepEd, ang dating SDO ng DepEd na si Edward Fajarda ay napag-alaman naming lumipat na sa OVP. Hindi maiiwasang magtaka ang iba na bakit OVP at DepEd lang ang nakasalang sa usapin ng confidential funds. We have to start somewhere. At dahil nasimulan na natin ito, nakita natin na ang mga kaduda-dudang justification sa gastos para sa safe houses worth 16 million for 11 days at 15 million para sa youth leadership program kung saan pondo naman pala ng Philippine Army ang ginamit. Our inquiry does not end with 15 or 16 million or 73 million. Sa totoo lang, 612.5 million ang kabuuang halaga ng confidential fund ang ibinigay sa OVP and DepEd sa loob ng 2 taon. Dito po makikita po natin ang graph showing disbursement to OVP and DepEd totaling 612.5 million. Nasaan na ngayon ang 612.5 million? Sino ang gumastos nito at para saan ito ginastos? Dahil dinisalaw ng COA ang 73 million confidential funds ng OVP, ating siniyasat kung bakit ito nangyari, saan napunta at paano ito ginamit. Ngunit kung susumahin ang lahat ng confidential funds ng OVP at DepEd, ito ay abot sa higit kalahating bilyong piso o 612.5 million. Base sa salaysay ng mga testigo at mga dokumentong nakalap, lumalabas na pawang hindi ka panipaniwala, haka-haka o gawa-gawa lamang ang mga proyekto at programang pinaglaanan at ginastusan ng confidential funds. Kumbaga, bogus, dahil hindi may paliwanag kung saan ito talaga napunta. Sa mga nakaraang 3 pagdinig ay natuklasan natin ang mga sumusunod. Una, para po sa taong 2022, kasama sa 125 million confidential funds ng OVP na ginastos, sa loob lang ng 11 araw, ang 16 million nito. ay ginastos para sa upa at maintenance ng 34 safe houses. Sa 16 million na ito, makikitang may isang safe house na ginastusan ng 1 milyon base sa mga acknowledgement receipt para lamang sa 4 na araw. Lumalabas na 250,000 per day ang upa at maintenance nito. Marahil kahit mag-check-in ka pa sa pinakamahal na hotel dito sa bansa ay hindi aabot ng ganitong kalaki ang iyong bill. Para sa taong 2023, the OVP spent confidential funds amounting to 125 million for the first 3 quarters, or a total of 375 million. The OVP spent for safe houses alone 16 million in the first quarter, 16 million in the second quarter, and 5 million in the third quarter. Next slide, please. Dito po makikita po natin emphasizing the amount spent for safe houses in relation to the months it supposedly covered. Talaga bang kinakailangan nila yung mga safe houses na to? Legitimate po ba yung paggastos nila dito? Bakit kaya hindi na sila gumastos para sa safe house sa buong taon ng 2023? Pangalawa, aside from the anomalous and unreasonable amounts paid for the safe houses, for the other expenses po na ginamitan ng confidential fund ay may similar pattern. Hindi reasonable ang halaga at mas malala ay umabot ng 612.5 million ang gastos na suportado lamang ng acknowledgement receipts with only basic details which can be easily fake. Pangatlo, napag-alaman din natin na ang certifications mula sa infantry battalions ng Philippine Army ay ginamit upang palabasing may natanggap na mahigit 15 million ng confidential funds ang Army mula sa DepEd. Subalit, mariing pinabulaanan ito ng mga mismong pumirma sa mga certifications. Hindi rin alam ng ating mga sundalo na ang kanilang certifications ay gagamitin ng DepEd upang suportahan ang paggasta sa kanilang confidential funds. Sana ba talaga ginastos at napunta ang pera kung hindi naman pala ito ginastos para sa Philippine Army? In Audit Observation Memorandum number 2024-015, dated February 1, 2024, first AOM, the COA flagged the report. Payment of rewards to the informers in the amount of 7,509,000 in the first quarter of 2023 and 8,031,000 in the second quarter of 2023 because these expenditures were not supported with required documents. In sum, this amounts to 15,540,000 of public funds. Walang ebidensya kung saan ginastos at walang konkretong pagpapatunay na ito ay pinamigay bilang kantimpala sa mga taong nakapagbigay ng mahalaga at makatotohanang impormasyon maprotektahan ang ating mga kabataang estudyante. Sa nakaraang pagdinig at nagmula kay Atty. Powa utos kay Yusek Mempin upang humingi ng katibayang maibibigay sa COA upang patotohanan ang paggasto sa confidential funds. Si Yusek Mempin naman, na dating commander ng Task Force Davao, ang humagilap ng certifications at ginamit na nga ito ni Atty. Powa sa pagsagot sa first AOM ng COA. Sinabi ni VP Duterte sa kanyang letter dated April 17, 2024, first AOM response na hinanda ni COS Powa, the 15,540,000 was used for financial rewards given to informers for leads and or integral information received, which supposedly allowed the DepEd to formulate narrowly targeted programs, information campaigns, and intervention against recruitment, violent extremism, and other criminal activities in specifically identified communities. Pinapalabas sa sulat na kabilang sa mga programang kanilang finormulate ay ang Youth Leadership Summit o YLS, and Information Education Campaign, IECS. Ngunit ito ay tahasang pinabulaanan ng mga AFP officers na pumirma sa mga certifications na hiningi ni Yusek Mempin. Pang-apat, lahat ng mga testigong humarap sa kamera ay nagsabing hindi nila alam nasaan ang pera at saan pumunta ang pera. As stated by Attorney Poa, when it comes to confidential funds, only two persons can answer the question: the VP herself and the Special Disbursing Officer, Mr. Edward D. Fajarda. Subalit, wala na si Mr. Fajarda sa DepEd. Siya ay nasa OVP na at kabilang sa mga tumatangging humarap sa ating pagdinig. Marahil, mas makabubuting kung sa halip na mag-presscon ay dumalo na lamang sa ating mga pagdinig upang harapin ang mga katanungang ito under oath kabilang ang kanyang mga tauhan. May paliwanag o wala, isa lang ang tiyak na sagot. Malamang hindi napunta ang confidential fund sa mga estudyante pati sa kanilang seguridad. The numbers drawn came from the very documents submitted by the Vice President. To close, I emphasize that the discoveries made by the committee is just the tip of the iceberg. Marami pa po tayong kailangan malaman at mahalagang dapat malaman kung saan napunta. Malinaw na madaling abusuhin ang confidential fund kung masyadong maluwag ang mga panuntunan sa paggamit nito. COA has been basically reduced to the ministerial task of checking whether the documents required to be submitted with respect to the confidential expenses are complete, without even checking the veracity of the information contained in these documents, compared to the audit of regular funds where transactions need further substantiation. This must be addressed to prevent not only leakage of government resources, but to close an avenue for graft and corruption. The mission of the committee is to craft a bill considering this relevance, these revelations to regulate and ensure the proper use of confidential funds. Maraming salamat po. I now call on the COMSEC to provide the committee an update on the invitations, requests, correspondences, submissions, and compliances.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before that, I would like to recognize the presence of our member, Honorable Loreto S. Amante of the 3rd District of Laguna, and Honorable Arnan C. Panaligan, 1st District of Oriental Mindoro. Your Honor, for today's attendees, we have invited Colonel Raymond Dante Pila Chica of the VPPSG. However, he sent his regrets, stating that he cannot attend due to prior equally important commitment. Mr. Morales is also the same, Your Honor. He cannot attend today. The Land Bank of the Philippines was invited. They have sent a list of their delegates. AVP Nanita Camposano, DOTC branch, DM Joyce L. Eclavea, DepEd branch, Attorney Rafael Christopher L. Yap, Special Legal Concerns. However, they are still not physically present in this hearing, Your Honor. We are also in receipt of the position papers of the Office of the Vice President from the individuals who were subject of the subpoena ad tuces tecum and from the invitees coming from the satellite offices, Your Honor. They are not present in today's hearing, Your Honor. The Department of Budget Management and management were also invited. However, they have a hearing in the Senate today and expressed their regrets in at today's hearing, Your Honor. For the subpoena ad duces tecum, Your Honor, it was service was refused. It was served on November 2. However, it was
Duces tecum or ad testificandum?
Pardon, Your Honor. Subpoena ad testificandum. The Legislative Service Bureau of the Congress tried to physically serve it on November 2 to the DepEd. However, service was refused by the agency security, stating that they are no longer connected, particularly the spouses, Edward D. Fajarda and Attorney Sunshine Chari A. Fajarda. When it was served to the office of the Vice President in their office in Mandaluyong, the security of the building himself said that he will not accept it. It was again served yesterday, November 4, but the legal of the OVP refused to actually receive the subpoena ad duces tecum, Your Honor, but it was sent to their email last night. Please do note that the hearing of October 28 was postponed due to the Typhoon Christine, as earlier stated by Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, the chair would like to recognize the senior vice chair,
who is,
Bienvenido Abante.
just would like to find out who is the one that did not accept the letter and what is his position?
Comsec, please answer the query of Congressman Abante.
Your Honor, this is based on the report of the Legislative Service Bureau. From the legal department of the Vice President, they were in coordination with her, Attorney Emily Torrentira. She was the one who refused to accept the subpoena, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, is there any reason why she refused to accept the invitation? Did she give any reason, Mr. Chair?
What is the reason?
Your Honor, the Office of the Vice President submitted the position paper dated today, signed by the individual subject of the subpoena ad duces tecum. Part of their excuses was that to follow the procedure, the 3-day subpoena, service of subpoena procedure under the rules. However, they stated here that there was no subpoena received, but they refused to receive the same, Your Honor. Second, justification, Your Honors, the subject matter of the deliberation is not in aid of legislation and violative of the rights of the resource persons. They also raised jurisdictional issue and their right to decline invitations. And lastly, sub judice, because of pending cases pending case in the Supreme Court, Your Honor. The position paper respectfully submitted November 5, 2024 were signed by the following individuals: Attorney Zuleika T. Lopez, Attorney Emmanuel Lemuel G. Ortonio, Attorney Rosaline L. Sanchez, Julieta L. Villa del Rey, Gina F. Acosta, Attorney Sunshine Chari A. Fajarda, and Mr. Edward D. Fajarda, Your Honors. There is another second position paper. However, this pertains to the satellite offices, the lead managers of the satellite offices, and not subject of the subpoena, Your Honors.
Mr. Chair, did these people who have invited wrote to us a personal letter why they cannot attend, or it was just more of the person that actually said that they cannot accept the invitation?
Your Honor, it was not signed by the person who refused to actually receive yesterday. It was signed by the subject of the subpoena ad duces tecum, Your Honor. The subjects of the subpoena.
Are all of these invited, Mr. Chair, still active in the Vice President's office, or they were actually working with the Vice President in a DepEd? Are they now working with the Vice President in her office as Vice President, Mr. Chair?
Pardon, Your Honor, I would like to correct my statement. It is subpoena ad testificandum, Your Honor. For the position paper, Your Honor, the committee and the Secretariat has information that Attorney Sunshine Shari A. Fajarda was formerly an ASEC of the Department of Education. In the previous hearing, the position papers she submitted to the committee did not use the header of the Office of the Vice President. However, from the start of our hearings, Your Honor, Mr. Edward D. Fajarda, formerly the SDO of the Department of Education, submitted his position papers under the header of the Office of the Vice President. It was only today, in view of this position paper submitted today, that the Secretariat was made aware that Attorney Sunshine Shari A. Fajarda is now with the Office of the Vice President, considering that she signed her name here under the header of the OVP.
As
Mr.
to
Chair.
the question of Congressman Abante, with respect to the status of this subject, siguro we can ask the former undersecretary or the spokesman of the Vice President, Attorney Poa, if are you still connected with the, well, I understand that you are no longer connected with DepEd, but how about in the Office of the Vice President? Are you still connected?
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would like to inform the Honorable Committee that I am no longer connected po with the Office of the Vice President. Hindi na po ako, yung consultancy contract ko po was already pre-terminated, Your Honor.
Not even as a spokesman?
Wala na rin po ako as spokesperson.
Okay, but
Opo.
are you aware of the status of the people who are subject of the subpoena?
Opo.
Are they still connected?
Honestly, Your Honor, when I was still there, yes, they were connected with the OVP. Although, as of today, hindi ko na po talaga masabi factually if they are still connected or not. I would assume because of the position paper with the letterhead that they're still connected. But I cannot confirm that because nagpaalam po ako, nagpaalam po ako na umalis prior pa po to the previous hearing that we had.
Mr. Chair, I assume
Yes, Congressman Abante.
that Attorney Poa knows all of these people personally, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your
Oo.
Honor.
So therefore, siguro, at present, alam mo pa rin kung sino yung connected kay Vice President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who are those people still connected with the Vice President?
Your Honor, as
far
far
as you know it.
as far as I know, those people are still connected with the Vice President. Although as of today, I really do not have personal knowledge. But as far as I know, they are still connected with the OVP.
Mr.
Thank you
Chair,
po.
how about Ms. Lopez? Is she still connected?
As far as I know, Your Honor.
Mr. Gonzaga?
Gonzaga.
Yeah,
Your-
Emmanuel Gonzaga Ortonio.
Yes, Your Honor. As far as I
How
know.
about Rosalyn Ladores Sanchez?
As far as I know, Your Honor. Same.
Gina Acosta?
I don't have any interaction po with her, but when I was there, yes, I know that she was connected with the OVP.
About Julieta Villa del Rey?
As far as I know, Your Honor.
Edward Fajarda?
Yes, as far as I know.
And
Your Honor.
Sunshine Chari Fajarda?
As far as I know as well, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, I would assume that if all of these are connected with the Vice President, it is the Vice President herself that asked them not to attend this hearing.
So may I know if all these subject persons that were mentioned by the Honorable Abante are still, do you have any travel update?
Your Honor,
Are they still, yes, Congressman?
Mr. Chair, may I also? Mr. Chair.
Congressman Sia?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In line with the question of Chairman Abante, well, I'd like also to ask Attorney Pao, because she mentioned certain number of names, and you confirmed that they are still connected with the Office of the Vice President. Would you also know if an individual by the name of Kelvin Tuntinido and Maria Edeline Rabago are still also connected with the Office of the Vice President?
Your
Attorney
Honor,
Poa?
sorry,
Please
Mr. Chair.
respond.
Your Honor, I am not familiar with them because when I was spokesperson, I only dealt with the upper management. Although Yung Mr. Kelvin, I think I recall his name.
Yeah.
Although I cannot, in all honesty, say if he's
But
still
while
connected or not.
when the time that you were connected with the vice president, have you met these people?
Uh,
Would you say
briefly,
that- yeah?
briefly, Your Honor, because of the budget hearings that
Okay.
time. Opo.
Are they career officers of OVP?
I honestly wouldn't know, Your Honor.
Okay, thank
Kasi
you.
I was only a consultant, Your Honor, so I beg your indulgence on
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Thank you, attorney. Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Chair.
Chairman, just
Congressman Paduano.
just to clarify things, because we're discussing some other names mentioned by members or colleagues, no, and members of this committee. While we have received already the official position from the office of the Vice President, and was signed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 persons, subject of isupwena ad testificandum.
Yes.
So Mr. Chairman, ganito na lang po because reading on the documents, no, that was as reply and an excuse from the office of the Vice President signed by the 7 persons cited, issued by isupwena ad testificandum, a certain Attorney Lopez, at Lemuel Ortonio, Attorney Sanchez, Julieta Villaderle, Gina Acosta, and the spouses Sunshine and Edward Farda. Now, Mr. Chairman, while question of being absent in today's hearing was already discussed and answered by this honorable committee, unless otherwise, some of the members will discuss it once again with regards to question of sub judice, question of jurisdictional issue, and the right to decline the invitation. But one thing is important, Mr. Chairman, that they invoke the question of the 3D rule, which is our internal rules. So, Mr. Chairman, now to be safe, for this committee to be safe, may I respectfully move na lang, Mr. Chairman, to once again issue subpoena ad testificandum to all those mentioned name, no, to all those mentioned name and what's issued previously a subpoena ad testificandum to be present in the next hearing, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Deputy Speaker Suarez.
Second.
Well, actually,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
before,
Congressman
with the
Paduano.
indulgence of the members and the good chairman, Mr. Chairman, to expedite discussion with regards to the question, matters at hand, may I just respectfully submit, Mr. Chairman, my official position with regards to the position or reply by the Office of the Vice President, just to expedite discussion, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, I will just submit my position with regards to sub judice, with regards to question of the trade rule, and the 4 reasons why those 7 OVP officials are not present at this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Noted.
Chair,
Yes, Congressman Abante.
according to the committee secretary, these people
At this testificandum.
have been invited 4 times, but they failed to attend. As I am, I'm so glad for the kindness of Congressman Paduano in inviting them again for the 5th time. Now, Mr. Chair, if they will not come for the 5th time, then I might make a motion to hold them in contempt. Because this is the 4th time. This is unfair to these people here who have attended every time that they are called upon. And then we're just going to do nothing about these people here who have been invited 4 times. It's unfair for us too that we are here in this hearing, and these people are kept on insulting us, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Congressman Paduano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the manifestation made by the Honorable Vice Chair Abante with regards to the issuance of subpoena ad testificandum, let's cross the bridge. I think, Mr. Chairman, let's cross the bridge when we have the next hearing. No? Tingnan po natin. But of course, we will just comply with our internal rules with regards to the trading rule. But question of due process with regards to invitation, Mr. Chairman, that is very clear that we have invited them for four invitations. So I really join the sentiment of Vice Chair Abante, but as of now, we cannot discuss about it since we have to comply with our internal rule. These are the trading rules, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, before I make my ruling, I would just like to make a short manifestation. I totally in agreement with the manifestation of Congressman Abante. And in fact, the fact that all the other resource persons are present in today's hearing, bakit naman po sila naka-attend? Yung iba hindi maka-attend. But of course, para po mawala na lang po yung mga agam-agam and also to, just like what Congressman Paduano said, to accommodate and in view of our 3-day rule, we will just reissue another subpoena with the stern warning that the next time that they fail to attend, we will be constrained to issue a much heavier penalty. Considering that there is a motion which was duly seconded by Congressman with Deputy Speaker Suarez, is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Deputy Speaker Suarez.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick manifestation. Unang-una ho ay pinapangalawahan ko po yung posisyon ni Congressman Abante patungkol po sa mga taong iniimbitahan ng committee ito upang magbigay ng impormasyon, pagpapaliwanag sa mga usapin na pinag-uusapan natin. Kung hindi po ako nagkakamali, Mr. Chairman, pang-apat na hearing na po natin ito. Tama po ba ako? This is our 4th hearing. I'm sure a great number of the Filipino people know what we're talking about. I'm sure the Office of the Vice President know what we're talking about. I'm sure the officials of the DepEd know what we're talking about. And being public servants, whether you're elected or you're appointed, it is part of your duty to make sure that you exercise transparency and accountability in the exercise of your duties and functions. Now, as an appointed official, having that oath that you have taken, pag meron pong mga patawag na ginagawa, ang Kongreso, maging ang Senado at ang mababang kapulungan, obligado pong umattend sila dahil napakahalaga po ng kanilang ibabahagi sa ating mga pinag-uusapan. So, alam ko naman po ay nakikinig yung mga iniimbitahan natin na ayaw sumipot. Pakiusap ko lang po sa kanila para naman matapos na po ito at makapagpatuloy na po tayo sa ilang bahagi. Ang habol lang naman po natin dito ay katotohanan, pagpapaliwanag lang kung paano ba ginastos yung pera. Hindi naman siguro masyadong mahirap ipaliwanag kung tama naman po ang paggastos ng pera. So, sinususugan ko po yung posisyon ni Congressman Paduano na pagbigyan natin muli ng, sige, isa pang pakiusap. Tulad na lang ng ginawa natin ng budget hearing, pinagbigyan na naman natin ng isa pang pagkakataon para humarap sa plenary. Kasi lang sana naman po, ito na ang huling pagkakataon na ibibigay natin. Dahil mahalaga po ang oras natin, mahalaga po yung oras ng mga taong pumupunta dito. Ako po ay nakikiisa sa pasasalamat sa inyong lahat. Dahil alam ko naman po ay inaabot po tayo minsan dito ng 8, 10 oras sa pandinig. But you give time. You open up your schedule because you know the importance and the significance of these hearings. So again, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to manifest that I am very disappointed with the position of our invited guests. for again, for the fourth time, not attending our hearing. And I do hope that when we do issue the subpoena tomorrow, we can take our proper action. Now, my question, Mr. Chair, is what other legal remedy does the committee possess insofar as to secure, number one, if our resource persons are still in the Philippines? Number two, to avoid flight. Number three, to ensure that their presence will be here in the following hearing.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Congressman Abante.
in relation to the question of my good friend Congressman J.J. Suarez, nakalagay po dito sa pinadala sa atin na information that only Zuleika Lopez departed on November 4. Emmanuel Gonzaga Ortoño arrived November 20. Rosalyn Ladores Sanchez arrived May 21. Juliet Villa del Rey arrived October 5. Edward Fajarda and Sunshine Chari Fajarda arrived June 25. Now, wala pa naman po naka-report na umalis sila uli. Sa palagay ko po, hindi lang talaga, I just would like to manifest, Mr. Chair, na napakabait po ng Committee on Good Government for giving them the chance for the fifth time to attend. Sana naman po ay hindi na kami ipahiya dito sapagkat para bang nararamdaman ko na umiiwas sila na tanungin kung paano ginamit ang pondo ng ating pamahalaan na dapat nilang linawin sa committee ito sapagkat tayo po ang binigyan ng mandato ng konstitusyon upang ating busisiin ang pondo na ginagamit ng bawat ahensya ng gobyerno, Mr. Chair. Kaya sa akin po, nakaka-disappoint sapagkat dapat ipaliwanag hindi lamang sa ating komite, dapat ipaliwanag sa taong bayan kung papaano ba ginamit ang pondo ng taong bayan, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat.
Mr.
Maybe
Chair.
we can...
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
Congressman Sia.
just like to inquire, since we are on the subject of issuing subpoena at this testificandum to certain individuals, may also inquire from our COMSEC, have we also sent invitation to Mr. Kelvin Jerome Tenido and Maria Edelyn Rabago? These are, I believe, career officers in the Office of the Vice President. Have we sent them invitation in the previous committee hearings?
Your Honors, in the previous committee hearings, Mr. Kelvin L. Tenido was, Jerome Tenido was invited. Ms. Rabago was first-time invitee,
Okay.
Your Honor. Your Honor, may I proceed with recognizing some members first, Your Honor?
Yes, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Honorable Franz Espomarian, Deputy Majority Leader from the 3rd District of Quezon City, is present, Your Honor, as well as Honorable Ed Christopher Esgo, Deputy Majority Leader, 2nd District of Isabela, Your Honor.
Yeah, so how many times did they refuse to appear before this committee hearings?
For Mr. Kelvin Jerome Tenido, Your Honor, this is the second time. For Ms. Rabago, this is the first time, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask, Mr. Chair, how many times would the committee allow for certain invitees not to appear in the committee hearings before we can issue a subpoena for them to be mandated and obligated to appear before this committee hearings?
Your Honor, under the rules on inquiries, witnesses, resource persons, and guests are allowed 2 unjustified absences, Your Honor.
Have they sent us justification or a reason for their not attending in the previous committee hearing? Did we receive any letter, excuse letter from them?
No excuse letters, Your Honor. Only position papers refusing to attend, Your Honor, based on the points raised in the current position paper that we have. It has been reiterated from day one of the other members or of officials of the Office of the Vice President, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, COMSEC. I'd like to reiterate again the manifestation of Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez that we have been very lenient to these individuals. So if we have not received any justification of excuse letter for them not to attend before this committee. And I believe these individuals that I've mentioned have already been received invitation in the previous committee hearings. Perhaps we can also, well, I would suggest to the committee that we can also include them, issue them a subpoena at testificandum so that they may be required to appear before this committee hearings, because I believe this, their testimonies would be material for this committee to arrive in a sound judgment once we file our once we file our committee report, para po maintindihan natin ng buo, comprehensively understand kung ano po yung pinag-uusapan natin dito. So, Mr. Chair, again, I would submit to the committee, to the chair, whether or not these individuals would also be included in the subpoena testificandum that we will be issuing in probably tomorrow, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, that's but if not, if I again I would subscribe to the decision of this committee, to the chairman, since being that they have already refused to attend. This is the second time, no, or the third time na, no, Comsec, the second time.
Chairman.
Is there any motion?
Well, Mr. Chair, if given the no, I would move that these individuals be included in the subpoena that we will be issuing, Mr. Chair. This committee will be
Is
issuing.
there any second to the motion? Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Thank you,
Comsec, please
Thank you very
include
much, Mr.
the
Chair.
names Kelvin Tenido and Delin Rabago to the subpoena at testificandum.
Noted, Your Honors. May I please continue with the update for the resource persons, Your Honor?
Yes, please. Could you please also update this committee if the lookout bulletin that we requested to the Bureau of, to the DOJ has already been released?
Yes, Your Honors. In coordination with the Bureau of Immigration, who were invited today, Your Honor, however, they are unable to attend. Nevertheless, they sent to us the latest travel records of the person subject of the subpoena at testificandum, which has been distributed to Your Honors. As to the ILB or Immigration Lookout Bulletin Order, I was updated by Attorney Vicente Ongcad of the Bureau of Immigration that they have not yet received an ILBO. However, per news reports, the request is already with the SOJ and is awaiting for his signature, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante?
perhaps it would also be better for us to invite Attorney Vicente Uncat to give us the information about these people that we have invited, on their travels, Mr. Chair.
Please take note of the manifestation of Congressman Ongcad, Comsec.
Noted, Your Honors. It was actually Attorney Vicente Ongcad who signed the information, the travel records, Your Honor, in your hand. However, he is engaged right now. That's why, in an equally important matter, nevertheless, he sent this document, Your Honor, and he will be invited again in the next hearing, Your Honor.
Lahat po ba itong subject ng ating subpoena ay nasa Pilipinas pa o meron ano yung mga travel record nila?
Your Honor, per coordination or in coordination with Attorney Ongcad, all the seven of whom we have requested travel records, only one left the country last night per information received. Attorney Zulaika T. Lopez entered the immigration gates of the airport last night at 7:31 p.m. Aboard flight PR 102 Manila to Los Angeles. But the rest are still in the Philippines. However, for Ms. Gina F. Acosta, considering that she has many multiple namesakes, the Bureau of Immigration is unable to provide information as to her latest travel records, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante.
what do you mean multiple namesakes? Ibig sabihin si Gina Acosta has a lot of aliases given?
Your Honor, she may have had many kaparehong pangalan, Your Honor. Gina F. Acosta.
Kaparehong
Yes,
pangalan.
opo.
Oo.
Hence, the Bureau of Immigration requested for birthplace or any other distinguishing detail to be provided in order to obtain specific records for Ms. Gina F. Acosta of the OVP.
Mr. Chair, mukhang maraming pera to mga to dahil nagda-travel palagi. You know? Kaya uulitin ko po, uulitin ko, Mr. Chair, sapagkat medyo, alam nyo, hindi rin nakakatuwa na makita na 4 na beses nang inimbitahan to. Samantalang nakalagay sa rules natin, 2 beses lang eh. And then afterwards, you could be able to issue a contempt order, no? Pero ito pang-4 na kayong hindi naka-attend, pang-5 ng imbitasyon to. So nakikita nyo ang kabaitan ng Committee on Good Government na pinapangunahan ni Congressman Joel Chua. So nais kong sabihin ulit, itong si Zuleika Lopez, Emmanuel Gonzaga Ortoño, Rosalyn Ladores Sanchez, Gina Acosta, Julieta Villa del Rey, Edward Fajarda, Sunshine Chari Fajarda, huwag nyo naman kaming hahamunin ang committee ito na mag-issue na kami ng contempt order sa inyo. Sana mag-attend na kayo. Ngayon pong inibitahan kayo ng pang-5 beses. Sapagkat alam ko naman, Mr. Chair, nakikinig itong mga taong to eh. Hindi naman sila ignorante sa hearing na ito. Nakikinig po sila dito. At kung narinig niyo po kami, nananawagan po kami sa inyo. Mag-attend na kayo sa next hearing po natin. At inyo na tanggapin ang aming pagiging mabait sa inyo so far, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
may I
Chair.
be recognized?
Congressman Alonto.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a quick manifestation as well, just to re-echo the sentiment of our colleagues here, Chairman Abante. Mr. Chair, I noticed also the position paper that was sent to us by these resource persons that we have invited, that they have cited the Calida versus Trillanes case as ruled by the Supreme Court. Mr. Chair, there's no portion in that ruling of the Supreme Court where it says that the invitation of a certain individual may not appear in the committee proceedings. It merely imparts there in the ruling, Mr. Chair, in that particular ruling by the Supreme Court, impart there that the Congress must, again, be conscious about the rights of the invited persons. Hindi ho nang sinasabi doon na may right na hindi pumunta. Wala pong doon sa ruling na yon, kasi yung pong in-invoke nila na ruling na yon sa kanilang response sa ating komite, na wala pong sinasabi doon sa ruling na yun na wag silang pumunta. In fact, ang sinasabi lang po doon ay nire-remind at sinasabi sa Congress na maging conscious tayo sa rights ng mga invited persons. In fact, Mr. Chair, refusal to attend a committee hearing, Mr. Chair, constitute a violation under the revised penal code doon po sa Article 150 na ang penalty nito ay arresto mayor. In fact, we are being given and recognized by the Supreme Court that we have the mandate as part of our oversight functions, to really invite these persons and know exactly what, the issues at hand, yung expenditure ng public expenses. So I think, alam nila yan. Kasi they have invoked this ruling by the Supreme Court and they have cited this ruling. I'm sure they have also consulted the lawyers. If they keep on refusing attending these committee hearings, alam po ng mga abogado nila yan, na in fact, it's under po dun sa revised Penal Code Article number 150, talagang mayroon pong penalty dyan sa refusal doon sa mga invitation ng mga proper na binigyan ng mandato ng Constitution na mag-investigate at mag-inquire at mag-hold ng mga committee hearings such as what we're doing right now. So just to add context to the manifestation of Congressman Chairman Benny Abante po, na dapat po alam po nila yan, because they have to consult their lawyers and they must appear before this committee hearing, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Manuel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, in connection din doon, dahil more than one time sinight sa position paper ng mga opisyal ng Office of the Vice President yung Calida versus Trillanes noong 2019. Mr. Chair, it is very disappointing for public officials representing the second highest office sa bansa natin na chine-cherry pick ang mga desisyon ng Supreme Court. Mr. Chair, in addition sa nabanggit ng colleague natin, kaya naman tayo umabot sa subpoena ad testificandum at hindi na lamang simpleng imbitasyon kasi yung mga input na gusto nating makuha mula sa mga opisyal na pangalanan ay crucial na mga impormasyon at hindi na lamang optional or add-on na mga impormasyon in line with the topics of our investigation or inquiry. Tsaka Mr. Chair, hindi nila sinite na actually yung petisyon nung nag-file versus kung sino yung dapat sumagot. Mr. Chair, this Supreme Court petition was actually dismissed. Ibig sabihin, nag-favor yung Supreme Court doon sa kapangyarihan ng legislative bodies na mag-conduct talaga ng mga investigations in line with the legislation. Lalo na yung national budget ay isa yan sa pinagdedebatihan talaga ng mga batas dito sa ating bansa. And Mr. Chair, sa position paper kasi ang dami talagang palusot pero hindi pa maayos yung mga palusot na binibigay. At actually, lalo lang na ina-undermine at hindi nire-respeto yung trabaho ng mga mambabatas, kinukasyon na hindi ito in aid of legislation, wala daw jurisdiction yung committee, nasa Supreme Court na daw. Pero then again, maging yung Supreme Court, kinikilala nga yung ating responsibilidad. Kasi we owe it to the people na talakayin yung ganito mga topic, lalo na at pera ng bayan nyo nakataya. And also, Mr. Chair, yung dinahilan din kasi daw natanggap yung letter, holiday, tapos may weekend pa, kaya late daw nabasa. Mr. Chair, we would like to remind these officials na dahil mga public official tayo, hindi dapat basta-basta ginagamit yung holiday or weekend bilang dahilan para i-neglect yung ating duty. Kasi tayo, we have a standard, sapat yung minimum 3 calendar days for us to issue notices kapag magkakahiring tayo. So yun lang gusto nating reiterate, Mr. Chair, in support din sa mga nabanggit dahil sobra na itong actually nasa extent na rin po ng pagbabastos na sa mandato ng committee natin to conduct this investigation. Yun lang, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante.
tayo po yung nagpapasalamat kay Atty. Powa na yung ating pag-imbita sa kanya, palagi siya nandirito, no? The fact that he worked as a spokesman of the Vice President before. Gusto ko lang tanungin sa kanya, kilala niya yung mga taon to. Ito ba talaga mga ugali nito mga taon to? Palagay mo, Tony Chua, ito ba talaga ugali ng mga taong ito?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Your Honor,
Attorney Powa, you recognize.
I hope you would forgive me, but I cannot comment po on that. No? I'm sorry po.
Well, I'm just so glad, Mr. Chair, that Atty. Powa do not have this kind of an attitude also. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
Congressman Luistro.
Mr. Chair, to complete the arguments, our answer to the arguments which were raised by the OVP in their position paper, I wish to share the rules and the jurisprudence which were cited with respect to the argument on sub judice rule. Isa po sa mga dahilan na ginagamit ng OVP why they refuse to attend our inquiry in aid of legislation is the rule on sub judice. By this, we are prevented from making any comment or disclosures pertaining to judicial proceeding which may directly or indirectly impede, obstruct, or degrade the administration of justice. In Filipino, Mr. Chair, kapag ang subject matter is already pending in court, generally, we are precluded from making any comment. However, Mr. Chair, maliwanag po ang parameters when the sub judice rule may apply. And I wish to share, number 1, under Section 1 of the Rules on Inquiry in Aid of Legislation, the filing or pendency of a case before any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial or administrative body shall not stop or abate any inquiry conducted to carry out a legislative process. Number 2, Mr. Chair, there is no pending court case or administrative appeal that involves the same subject matter of this hearing. I understand that there are pending petitions before the Supreme Court, but let us acknowledge that the subject matter of those petitions is the constitutionality of the grant of confidential fund to executive offices like the OVP and the DepEd. Whereas the subject matter of this investigation, Mr. Chair, is the utilization of the confidential fund. These are two different matters, Mr. Chair. And third, Mr. Chair, let us be aware of the jurisprudence on the case of Romero II versus Estrada. This is GR number 174105, promulgated on April 2, 2009, which essentially states ongoing judicial proceedings cannot preclude or hinder congressional hearings in aid of legislation. In this case, it was held that the mere filing of a criminal or an administrative complaint before a court should not automatically bar the conduct of legislative investigation. Otherwise, Mr. Chair, it would be extremely easy to subvert any intended inquiry by Congress through the convenient ploy of instituting a criminal or an administrative complaint. Surely, the exercise of sovereign legislative authority, of which the power of legislative inquiry is an essential component, cannot be made subordinate to a criminal or administrative investigation. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, there is no leg to stand on where the OVP can raise the rule on sub judice. I submit, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congresswoman Luistro. Meron pa pong gusto mag-comment? Yes, Congressman Defensor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to put to rest once and for all the issue of whether this is in aid of legislation. This is clearly in aid of legislation because ang pera na ginamit ng OVP at ng DepEd is funded and forms part of the single most important legislation passed by Congress every year, and that is the annual budget or the General Appropriations Act. Walang pwedeng magsabi na ang pondo na binibigay sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno kapag iniimbestigahan ng committee ito is not part of in aid of legislation because we legislate the funds that we give to all agencies and instrumentalities of government. And it is for us to determine through our oversight and this committee whether we will fund it again, whether we will repeal it, or whether we will not no longer fund these programs through these confidential and intelligence funds. So I hope that is clear to every Filipino na in aid of legislation ito kasi part ito ng annual budget or General Appropriations Act taon-taon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Congressman Abante, you're recognized.
I fully agree with Congresswoman Luistro and Congressman Defensor on what they said. Ito po ay pinapanood ng taong bayan na kinakailangan maunawaan po nila na itong pondong ito, whether confidential po ito o hindi, nagastos na po ito. Hindi pa ito gagastusin, nagastos na ho ito eh. Ang nais nating malaman kung paano ito nagastos. Tungkulin po natin yan sa committee ito na alamin upang malaman po ng taong bayan na yung paggastos po ng pondo na nanggaling sa mga taxpayers ay tama at naaayon sa mandato na ibinigay sa office ng pangalawang Pangulo. Kaya nga po iniimbitahan natin itong mga taong ito na nakakaalam ng mga pondong ito. Ako naman po medyo naaawa na rin sa ating members ng COE na naririndi na sa mga katanungan natin. Talagang dapat pumunta na po ito. Kaya gusto ko rin i-air ang warning na ito muli. Pag hindi pa sila nagpunta sa panglimang pagkakataon, ako na po ay magmo-motion to issue a contempt order on them. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Your
Congressman
Honor.
Abante.
May I be recognized?
Yes, Comsec, you're
Your-
recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor. We recognize the presence of Honorable Ernesto M. Jonicio Jr., Member, 1st District of the City of Manila, as well as Honorable Jonathan Keith T. Flores, 2nd District of Bukidnon. Your Honor, present as well today are representatives from the Land Bank of the Philippines, AVP Nanita Camposano of the DOTC branch. Ma'am, may you please raise your hand? Present, Your Honor. DM Joyce L. Eclavea, DepEd branch. And Attorney Rafael Christopher L. Yap, Special Legal Concerns Department. Present, Your Honor. That's it.
Nakapag-take na po ba sila ng oath?
No, Your Honor, they are new invitees, Your Honor.
Yes. Pwede po bang paki-administer yung oath, Comsec?
From the representatives of the Land Bank, kindly stand up. Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this inquiry? So help you God. Thank you, Your Honor. The oath has been administered.
Thank you. We will now proceed to our next item in the agenda, the continuation of the deliberation. We will first call on the first interpellator, the Honorable Congressman Rog Gutierrez. Yes, you are first to interpellate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yung mga gusto pong, for a while, Congressman, yung mga gusto pa pong Congressman na magpalista lang po, lumapit lang po kay Comsec. Thank you po. Please continue, Congressman Rog.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just have a few questions based on the ARs that we've done. And given that this is already our 4th hearing, I'm sure COA is very much used to our questioning, and I hope they could indulge us some more. Actually, Mr. Chair, yung aking mga katanungan is supposedly directed to the Special Disbursement Officer of the OVP, because under my understanding, based on the joint memo, this would have been SDO Acosta's responsibility, because under this number 6.3.2, Section B, it is part of the Special Disbursing Officer's responsibility to maintain separate records of all transactions and to retain a certified copy or duplicate copy of the required supporting documents and reports on utilization. However, and my questioning is precisely on this, on the acknowledgement receipts attached as justification, yung documentary evidence presented. However, given that the SDO Acosta is not around, I guess we'll be forced to at least to get this some of the answers I'll be forced to ask the COA. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to direct my questions perhaps to Attorney Camora from the ICFAO, if they would be so kind to indulge. Just as to add context po, no, Attorney Camora. We know po that the confidential funds are special in the sense that they respond to, they pertain to a certain purpose only allowable under the Joint Memo Circular. But this does not mean that this is a blank check po, no? It's not a blanket authority that it could be spent without justification. Would that be a fair statement po?
Attorney Camora, you're recognized.
That is correct po, Your Chair.
So,
Mr. Chair.
in line with that and in line with the requirements of the COA, you would ask actually for liquidation reports. Although it's special in the sense that it is directed only to the chairman of the COA, you still have the ICFAO to study this. And in fact, it is the ICFAO who gives the AOMs, the notice of disallowance, and the notice of credit in relation to confidential fund spending. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
That is correct, Mr.
Nice,
Chair.
So, Mr. Chair, given the, maybe no, I have a timeline again of the 2022 confidential fund usage of the OVP. If I understand correctly, it was disbursed within 11 days. This was for December of 2022, and the basis of the funds was a transfer from the contingent fund. But there was an AOM issued by your office. Anong date po nito?
Mr. Chair, the first AOM is dated September 14, 2023.
So for the 2022 confidential funds, September 2023 yung AOM. And the response by the Office of the Vice President was received around what time po kaya?
It was received by the ICFAO on October 19, 2023, Mr. Chair.
October 2023. And one of the findings there was insufficient the DEPs po, no? And this would be pertaining to, in support of the liquidation reports, yung ating mga acknowledgement receipts. Whereas compared to usual spending by government wherein we actually need official receipts, kapag ang pinag-uusapan po ay confidential or intelligence funds, because precisely confidential dapat yung usage nito, it is sufficient to submit acknowledgement receipts. Tama po ba?
Mr. Chair, since the requirement is documentary evidence of payment, not necessarily official receipt.
Correct.
So they could submit acknowledgement
Attorney Camora,
receipts.
pwede pong pakilakasan po ninyo yung boses ninyo.
Documentary evidence of payment po ang required sa joint circular. So the acknowledgement receipts are acceptable po.
Acceptable. Correct po, no? And I agree with that. So the acknowledgement receipts are acceptable. However, one of the findings of the AOM was kulang nga po yung DEPs. And this is pertaining to the acknowledgement receipts.
The first time na nag-liquidate po sila, wala po talagang submitted na DEPs.
Opo. So that's why you had the AOMs in September 2023. Part of the findings was the lack of the DEPs, precisely yung mga ARs natin, and then they answered in October 2023. When they filed in October 2023, was it already there, yung DEPs? Yung justification po nila?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it was part of their compliance.
So it was submitted October 2023. After that, there was a notice of disallowance pertaining to that quarter. Kailan po ito na-issue?
Mr. Chair, before that, a notice of suspension was issued. So normally, after the AOM is issued and the COA is not satisfied with the compliance, we issue a notice of suspension, which was issued on December 13, 2023.
December 2023. And the notice of suspension you mentioned is when the COA is not satisfied. So yung pagsubmit po ng October 2023 DEPs, hindi pa po satisfied yung COA. And what was the reason that you were not satisfied? Mali-mali po ba yung mga AR or kulang pa po yung mga AR?
May mga ibang ARs po na may issues and may kulang pa po na additional documentation on other ARs.
And after the notice of suspension for December 2023, they were given another chance to submit additional documents. Is that correct? Or wala na po?
Meron pa, Mr. Chair.
Meron pa.
They were given 90 days.
90 days.
To,
When did they, apologies, when did they submit their additional DEPs po? In response to the notice of suspension?
Mr. Chair, we received their compliance on March 13, 2024.
March 2024. And finally, I suppose after this, ito na po yung disallowance?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Anong date po ng disallowance po natin?
The disallowance is dated August 8, 2024, Mr. Chair.
August 2024. Thank you. I'll get back to that po. No? I wanted to establish a timeline because one of the things that we have found with the acknowledgement receipts is that there seemed to be a disconnect in relation to the dates, especially considering the fourth quarter of 2022 CF. Mr. Chair, maybe ask the Secretariat. I don't know if they've prepared it. I want to flash on screen an acknowledgement receipt. Here. Is the date legible po sa inyo? Can you see? I'd like to confirm that the date that it says is actually December 28, 2023. Do you see that, Attorney Camora?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And supposedly this was attached. I'm not sure if this would come in for the first batch of response in December 2023 or if it came in with the second batch of response in March 2024. But this is supposedly a DEP presented for the fourth quarter of 2022. Isn't it strange? Not really strange, it's outright false for it to justify an expense in 2022, but the date is 2023. Would that be correct, Ms. Camora? Attorney Camora?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Actually, one of the findings under the notice of suspension is that some of the acknowledgement receipts were dated December 2023, and some were even undated.
Yes. And this would be the basis for disallowance? Or was this, this was the findings of the AOM po, no?
Yes, that is under the notice of suspension na po, Mr. Chair.
suspension.
Since nakapag-comply na sila. So yung observation namin was already under the notice of suspension po.
How would it be complied po, Attorney Camora? How did they rectify the AR? If it, I mean, my understanding po is pag submitted po yung AR, this is already supposedly presumed to be regular, and then you have an outright problem such as 2023. Although you might say na typographical error, but correct me if I'm wrong, this happens more than once po. Is that correct, Attorney Camora?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Would you know how many ARs exactly yung dated 2023, submitted for 2022?
Mr. Chair, we have attached it in the original notice of suspension. However, we do not have the figures today.
Sige po. Well, just to help you po, no, based on our study, 158 of the acknowledgement receipts have that typographical error. We would understand the typographical error if it happens once or twice, and at most for one individual to make that mistake multiple times. But for supposedly acknowledgement receipts which come from different sources, this should be different people issuing it po, diba? These are different people signing off for different expenses. Now, for 158 people to make the same mistake, is that something that would be acceptable? Is that an acceptable margin of error for the COA?
Mr. Chair, they answered in their compliance. As to the
Mr. Chair, apologies. Maybe what does it mean to answer with the compliance? So they took back yung AR na mali po yung date, or?
no, Mr. Chair, yung compliance nila contained their answers why they had the acknowledgement receipts dated December 2023 and undated acknowledgement receipts.
And what was the answer po, Attorney Camora?
They said they have inadvertently contained clerical or typographical errors indicating 2023 instead of 2022. Considering the nature of confidential activities which are usually conducted discreetly and completed within a short period of time, and in addition to the lack of attention to details of personnel attending to voluminous papers from several individuals, some data in the acknowledgement receipts submitted as proof of transactions may have been missed.
Mr. Chair, apologies. I think that portion would suffice po, Attorney Camora. No? So the answer of compliance, they did not dispute, they did not take back the ARs, but they simply gave that defense that it was an inadvertence, or basically typo nga po siya. But precisely the point, Mr. Chair, that I think that the committee should consider is that it's a typographical error for 158 acknowledgement receipts. This is not something that I think, although we do not argue with the COA, of course, this is their jurisdiction. It is precisely their decision if that compliance would be sufficient. However, I think for us to consider in strengthening the laws that we are going to craft, in support perhaps of the joint memorandum circular, I think we have to be stricter with the acknowledged receipts to be issued. Because, Mr. Chair, I would like to propose one thing. Of course, the COA will not be able to answer this. But given the timeline po, no, September 2023 yung first na AOM, the October 2023 was the compliance with the first batch of ARs, and then December 2023, the notice of suspension. And that was the time siguro po, no, that they were coming up with these new ARs. It would make more sense, Mr. Chair, for them to make that mistake. Because when pag nagkaka-typographical error po natin sa date, the usual mistake is you put on the date that is current. Isn't it possible, Mr. Chair, based on human experience, isn't it more likely that these ARs were prepared a year after the fact already? That they were prepared in December 2023, because this precisely coincides with the date in which they submitted the second batch of the ARs. I don't think, Mr. Chair, this was a mistake that was committed in December 2022. This was a mistake that was committed after the fact, after the AOM, and after the notice of suspension, when they were rushing to comply with yung mga butas po na lahat ng COA. I think this is something that the committee should consider, especially when it comes to the compliance with the COA. We are not faulting the COA, of course, and we respect them. This is their jurisdiction. But one thing that we understand, that we see from the COA, is that generally they are not really ministerial, but they would err on the side of caution rather than put themselves in the place to, exercise discretion regarding the disbursements by any agency. Sa kanila po, as long as complied yung DEP, and as long as there's an explanation, they would accept it. However, I think the COA has to go above and beyond that requirement. Because, Mr. Chair, just to highlight also how spurious this seems and how bogus. If December 2022 po yung date dapat ng AR, tapos December 2023 yung date, it wouldn't even correspond to any confidential funds. It's not possible if ever the reasoning was nagkapalitan ng AR, because I understand that might be one of the excuses for inadvertence. Baka nagkapalitan yung AR for December 23 and December 2022. Pero wala pong December 2023. If we recall, the fourth quarter of the confidential funds for the Office of the OVP was never dispersed. They chose, although it was already included in the our General Appropriations Act, they chose not to disperse yung fourth quarter. So saan po na ilalagay itong December 2023 AR if, in fact, they would say inadvertence, nagkapalitan yan, or if they say typographical error naman, it wouldn't make sense. What's that doing in December 2022? 158 times po nangyari. More likely, this was the same mistake committed by perhaps a few persons, which raises the question, are these acknowledgement receipts spurious? Are they bogus? Are they false? In addition to that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to present another acknowledgement receipt. If the Secretariat could please flash yung November 1 po.
Kung Rog, gusto ko lang linawin, 158 times na ang date ay 2023.
Mr. Chair, based on what our office has found, 158 of the ARs corresponding to 23.8 million were submitted for the for the fourth quarter of 2022 disbursement, but they were citing 2023. Ang sabi nga po ng COA na ang citing the answer of the OVP is that inadvertence po.
Ang dami namang pagkakamali nun. Kung magkakamali ka, dapat isa lang. Sa 2023, last quarter, wala na silang confidential funds. So parang lumalabas, lumagpas yung kanilang liquidation. Sobra-sobra yung liquidation na nilabas nila. Tama po ba yung pagkakaintindi ko sa sinasabi ninyo?
Well, Mr. Chair, your guess is the same as ours, but it could also be na these are ARs belatedly prepared.
Okay. Sige po. Thank you po. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, proceeding onward, may we ask the Secretary to flash yung November 17, 2023 AR. Yun. Thank you. Attorney Camora, is it legible po? Can you see that the date is November 27, sorry, 2023? No, 2022.
November, I cannot see it. November 17, Mr.
November 27 po, 2022.
27.
Well, Attorney Camara, apologies, perhaps di lang kita masyado sa screen, but on paper nakita po na November 27, 2022 po siya. If my understanding is correct, the AR should correspond to the period of the confidential funds actually dispersed and used. Tama po ba? So although it is for the fourth quarter of 2022, this was submitted as an AR there, it should correspond to the 11 days of disbursement po that they actually had it. Because if I understand correctly, anong date nga po yung first, yung pag-issue nung check for the OVP confidential funds?
Ano? December 20, 2022, Mr. Chair.
December 20, 2022. So definitely, this is after November 27, 2022. Would the COA have, of course, I would not fault COA for this. This is supposedly a question for the Special Dispersing Officer, si SDO Acosta, but given that she's not here, I am constrained to ask the COA, para saan po kaya would this be considered? Because if we also consider, baka sabihin naman natin na typographical error, baka dapat November 2023 po ito, wala rin pong fourth quarter confidential funds ang OVP for 2023. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So in that case, how would the COA appreciate this acknowledgement receipt?
Normally, Mr. Chair, it should be noted that confidential funds should not be used as payment for reimbursement of previous activities. So it would have been flagged as a reimbursement expense, so not allowed.
So this would have been disallowed totally. And perhaps there's a good chance that this is part of the disallowance actually of your OWA. But I think, Mr. Chair, what is striking for this committee is, of course, the COA has already acted on the disallowance. But what should be considered is the fact that this could not have happened. I mean, reimbursement might be one explanation, but how could you reimburse something that this was even the first batch of confidential funds? December 21 po ba? Tama ba? December 21?
December 20, Mr. Chair, yung date ng check.
December 20 po yung cheque. This is the first confidential funds ever issued to the OVP for this administration. Yet they have acknowledged receipts for November 27, 2022. Ibig sabihin po, wala pa pong confidential funds. They're already coming up with their acknowledgement receipts.
Mr. Chair, with the indulgence of Congressman Rodriguez, may I just...
Congressman Abante.
Bago ko makalimutan to, no? Nakalagay dito, yung pakianong audit yung, acknowledgement receipt yan. Ito po ba ay allowed ng COA? Pag gumamit ka nung 150,000 na rewards, pakiano nga yung acknowledgement receipt, pakilagay nga uli. Ayan. Allowed po ba ng COA yan? Yung payment of rewards nakalagay medicines? Allowed po ba ng COA yan?
Mr. Chair, that is one of the observations po. Na,
So therefore, kung yan ang observation nyo, dinisallow nyo.
yes, Mr. Chair. Part
Okay,
of the
so that
disallowance
was
nyo.
actually 150,000 used for payment of rewards for medicines was disallowed by COA. Ganun po ba?
It is one of the disallowed accounts, Mr. Chair, yung payment of reward medicines.
Ito, disallowed to, di ba?
Probably, sir, since kasama naman siya
Teka, attorney, but probably.
Yes, sir, since it is an acknowledgement
Di
receipt
ba?
of payment of rewards.
You're a good lawyer. You cannot just say probably. You have to be sure about it, di ba? So, di talagang disallowed to, di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
O yan, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Please continue, Congressman Rog.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Congressman Abante. Basically, what we're trying to say here po, no, in relation to the dates, whether this is for reimbursement of, although illegal po, no, it's not supposed to be allowed. Whether this was as justification for reimbursement or this was inadvertence or typographical errors, despite being repeated over 158 times, these are clear red flags po in relation to the AR submitted by the office. And this is something that we should consider. Looking forward, we should consider po this in aid of legislation, perhaps legislation to strengthen this joint circular to make sure that this doesn't appear again, or perhaps stringent penalties for when this is caught. But more important than that, we still have to hold them accountable po, no? For this, although this is already passed, although there's already this notice of disallowance, accountability should be had for this. Now, in addition po, moving forward from these erroneous dates or inadvertent dates, I would like to present another documentary evidence. May we have po the Secretariat flash yung acknowledged receipt for Mr. or Ms. NP. Yun. Attorney Camora, when we're talking of acknowledgement receipts, basically it's something like this one. It's very bare. It just has the amount received, for what purpose, and you have the name and the date. That's all that is required. However, when it comes to the name, is this usually the name of the person or signature or both?
They would give us normally yung name and signature, but actually the signature is which is more important to the COA. Since we know that unsigned documents are really not good documents. So kung signature lang, okay lang po siya, pero kung name lang po, we will flag it as unsigned document po.
Yes. And what is the reasoning for this? Because a name can be written by anyone, but a signature is supposedly unique. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So what happens when, for example, here, it may not be seen, it's redacted precisely because it's confidential. However, it could be noted that this name was written in block letters, which are not distinctive by any manner, yet this was what was submitted as an acknowledgement report, acknowledgement receipt. So in cases such as this, it's very possible that someone purporting to be Mr. NP is writing the name for NP. Would that be correct, Attorney Camora?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
So in this case, this would be another case of an irregular AR. Would that be correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And of course, when it comes to the ARs that are just block letters and names, because precisely it could be purporting to be that person, but signed by anyone else, this should be disallowed, Mr. Chair. But of course, as mentioned again by Attorney Camora, alam ko baka narinig din na po kayo with all of these questions for the ICFA, which are all redundant. But it just is an additional proof po that what we're looking at here are red flags when it comes to acknowledgement receipts. And I think we really should strengthen po siguro the DEPs that would be required for confidential funds. Kasi po, hindi po to biro. And if you look at it precisely, we're talking about a single payment for 400,000 pesos as a reward payment, which could be anyone because hindi nga po signed. Kung sa mga signatures nga po, nagkakaduda tayo kung totoo yung signature. Paano pa kaya pag walang signature at all? How do we know that this person exists? These are some issues that we should consider po, Mr. Chair, when we're going to craft our legislation to strengthen po yung joint memorandum circular. Mr. Chair, I had other questions, but I think this could only be answered by SDO Acosta. So I would like to manifest that I would like to join po yung, I have the same sentiments as Chairman Abante that these persons invited should appear. At least, it would be our 5th hearing already and still we have no answers, and I think it would the answers really rely on their attendance, and this is only for the accountability for the truth that our people would see. So I think we should really have a harder stance for requiring their attendance. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would now defer and yield to our other colleagues here today. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, COA.
Thank you, Congressman Rodriguez. The next interpellator is Congresswoman Pami Zamora.
Mr. Chair, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chair, since wala naman yung mga invited guests natin from the OVP, I will not be raising any questions. Rather, I would just like to point out a very important manifestation, which I believe is very important and vital for our proceedings. No? Kaunting backtrack lang po tayo. Over the past hearings, Mr. Chair, we've discussed the contents of the accomplishment reports, and I'm sure we all have copies of that, at kung sino ang naghahanda at pumipirma ng mga ito. And as we have confirmed, ang naghahanda at pumipirma ng mga ito ay yung SDO and yung head ng agency. Mr. Chair, allow me to point out what the certification attached to the accomplishment report means for the SDO and the Vice President herself as head of the agency. Meron ba yung slide natin para makita ng ating mga manonood? So, Mr. Chair, itong pinapakita natin ay part ng certification na naka-attach sa mga liquidation reports na na sinasubmit mismo ng SDO at ng ating Vice President. Okay? We have 4 copies from the period of December 21 to 31, 2022, from Feb 6 to March 29, 2023, from April 25 to June 2023, and from July 14 to September 14, 2023, all of which amount to 125 million. So, apat na 125 million po ito na sinocertify po nila, nakapirma po silang dalawa dyan, and may I emphasize on Section B. Expenses were incurred in connection with the agency's intelligence and/or confidential operations and activities with supporting documents attached to the liquidation of confidential funds and for the intelligence funds, documentary evidence of payment kept in sealed envelope in the vault in the office of the SDO.
This only means, Mr. Chair, that the signatories of these liquidation or accomplishment reports, which is a sworn document, certify na yung cash advances here amounting to 500 million pesos, representing the confidential funds, were used for the implementation of the OVP initiatives. And as COA has pointed out in the past hearings, they do not verify or determine whether the information in the DEPs, the amount, the signature, name in the receipt, the date sa receipt, are truths, lies, or are reasonable or unreasonable. The only persons who are able to verify kung totoo talaga ang mga acknowledgement receipts na ito, Mr. Chair, ay ang Office of the Vice President, particularly the head of the office, which is the Vice President herself, and the Special Disbursing Officer. With this, Mr. Chair, it's rather very evident that through the certification attached to this, nakikita natin dito, accomplishment reports, the ARs na kino-question kanina are impliedly verified by the Vice President herself and the SDO. Nevertheless, Mr. Chair, naniniwala po ang inyong lingkod na mahalaga na usisain pa rin natin at tingnan ang veracity ng mga acknowledgement receipts na pinresenta nila, and at the end of the day, na kahit ito po ay confidential or intelligence funds man, ito ay pondo pa rin po ng ating pamahalaan, intended para sa ating mga kababayan. With this, Mr. Chair, I yield the floor to the next interpellator.
Do you have another Comsec? Sino pa yung isa?
Kong Hun.
Congressman Jeff Kung-hun, you recognize, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, ayon sa ating last hearing, we have confirmed the following. The Office of the Vice President has requested for confidential funds for at least 2 years. The documents evidencing payment, or the DPEs, are required to be submitted to support the disbursement of confidential funds. The Commission on Audit relies mainly on DPEs, which is the case of OBP, or ARs. Napaka-importante po nito dahil napapatunayan kung saan at kung paano at kung sino ang tumatanggap ng mga payments na galing sa Office of the Vice President. The COA has confirmed that these documents are noted as submitted out of mere compliance, almost to the point of being ministerial. We have confirmed that these DEPs, despite its key roles in ensuring proper receipt of confidential funds and utilization as indicated in accomplishment reports, has been the documents submitted out of mere compliance, perhaps at the cost of its truth and accuracy. Mr. Chair, I would like to manifest that the purpose of this acknowledgement receipt, at least in theory, is to safeguard the use of confidential funds. Paano po natin maipapakita through sa acknowledgement receipts kung ang tao na tumatanggap nito at kung saan ito napunta at ginagastos. Kahit confidential funds po ito, need po natin bantayan kung paano ito nagagastos at kung paano ito nagagamit. However, despite the intent, an examination of these acknowledgement receipts submitted in the liquidation of the OVP's confidential funds shows the alarming discrepancies and indications of irregularity. Meron pong pagdududa kung saan at paano ginamit ang confidential fund ng OVP. Mr. Chair, meron po ako ipapakita na acknowledgement receipt dated December 2022. Ito po yung documents in evidencing payment. Nakita po natin na walang nakalagay sa acknowledgement receipt na ito, walang nakalagay na date. Bakit po kaya walang date din na nakalagay dito? Naka-blank po yung date. So this acknowledgement receipt was included with ARs dated December 22 or part of the DEPs of 2022. Based on this acknowledgement receipt, it is the auditor are the auditors were able to determine whether the money was actually issued in 2022. Napakahirap po patunayan kung talagang 2022 nga po ba ginastos o ginamit itong mga ARs na isinabmit ng Office of the Vice President dahil wala nga po itong date. Ano po ba yung nakapaloob sa acknowledgement receipt na ito? Wala rin po itong period covered. So, ano po ang dahilan kung bakit kailangan may nakalagay na period covered sa isang acknowledgement receipt na ito? Tingin ko po kailangan nating malaman para malaman din natin kung kailan at para saan ito ginamit. Kung wala po itong date sa nakikita ninyo, medyo hindi katanggap-tanggap at talagang nakakapagduda kung saan at paano ginamit yung pera na nakalagay po sa acknowledgement receipt na ito. To illustrate to you, I will show you the acknowledgement receipt in the name of a certain AAS who appears 3 times in the acknowledgement receipt on hand. Nakita po natin, bali sa dokumentong isinabmit ng OVP na ipinapakita ko po ngayon, a certain AAS may tinanggap po siya na pera sa loob po ng 2 buwan. From December 2022 to February 2023, almost 210,000 ang tinanggap niya. But from December 2022 to July 2023, nakatanggap si AAS ng 300,000. Maring nakakapagtaka po kung paano at para saan ang ginamit na perang ito. Kasi ang nakalagay po dapat is purchase of information. To reiterate, magkaparehas lang ang purpose ng 3 ARs. Kung magkaparehas lang, bakit may varying amount sa disbursement? So, napakarami pong katanungan na kailangan nilang sagutin yung mga taong hindi po nagpunta rito at yung mga tao po na iniimbitahan natin at sinasabpina natin. Hindi po ba nakakapagtaka kung bakit may iba't ibang amounts for the same purpose? Purchase of information. Katulad ni AAS, tumanggap siya ng 60,000 noong December 2022, 150,000 noong February 2023, at 70,000 noong 2023. In another set of ARs, Mr. Chairman, may isa pang tao na by initials ay JOV, which received the confidential funds for 3 different purposes. For the payments of reward, medicine in December 2022, for the payment of supplies in 2023, and the provisions of medical and food aid in 2023. Nakatanggap si JOV ng 920,000 sa loob ng 5 buwan for 3 different purposes: payment of reward of medicine, payment of supplies, and provision of medical and food aid. Ano ang total na natanggap ni JOV base 3 ARs na ipinakita ko sa screen? Ito ay 920,000. Unlike AAS, ang pera na tinanggap ni JOV ay para sa 3 separate purpose: payment of rewards and medicine, payment of supplies, provision of medical and food aid. Marami pong mga katulad ni JOV na tumanggap ng confidential fund na galing sa Office of the Vice President. Nakapagtataka na may isang tao na tumanggap ng confidential fund na twice o thrice para sa iba't ibang purposes. Nakapagtaka din kung saan ito nanggagaling. Ang galing-galing naman ng tao na yon. Marami silang businesses na sobrang swak na kinakailangan ng Office of the Vice President. Or baka meron silang, baka pwede natin mas magandang katanungan is hindi ba kayo nagtataka kung bakit paulit-ulit ang pangalan? Halatang halata na parang ang Office of the Vice President ay naubusan na ng pangalan na ilalagay. Mr. Chair, please allow me to point out to a pattern that we found out in the documents evidencing payment for December of 2022. There is a very real possibility that the confidential fund were released in batches daily na parang routine na ito o robotic pa. Parang scripted ang pag-release ng mga pondong ito. Tignan po natin yung na ifa-flash po natin sa ating screen. This shows a pattern that occurs throughout the DEPs in December of 2022. Nakikita po natin na halos pare-parehas po ang amount na ito at talagang grabe po yung kanilang ginawa para sa reward medicine. Nagre-repeat po ito ng December 29 and December 30 and even occurs many more times during this period. Nakikita nyo rin po na never ninyo pinansin itong pattern kahit the same amount, same dates, and several times. Kaya hindi po ba nakakapagduda, lalong-lalo na po sa Commission on Audit, na paulit-ulit po na pare-parehas ang amount, pare-parehas ang nakalagay, lalong-lalo na sa kanilang mga DEPs. Mr. Chair, let us not forget that these confidential funds were spent all in 11 days. This pattern in releasing the confidential funds in batches show exactly how all the 125 million of confidential funds were fully spent. Mr. Chair, we have shown you the importance of the DEPs more than being a required document for the disbursement of confidential funds. And the DEPs, isa sa mga dokumento na dapat meron tayong integridad at dapat nating binabantayan dahil ito ang nagpapatunay sa maayos na paggamit ng confidential funds. How can the integrity of the receipt and the use of confidential fund be safeguarded pag walang maayos na mga nakalagay sa ating mga acknowledgement receipt or pag hindi nababasa ng maayos yung acknowledgement receipt? Mr. Chair, dapat po talaga na humarap na yung mga tao na ating sinusubpina, na ating pinapatawag dito sa na naka-destino o naka-assign sa office ng Vice President. Sana po, Mr. Chair, wag na po nilang pagtakpan ang ating Vice President dahil nakikita naman po natin na marami po talagang irregularidad na nakikita, lalong-lalo na sa kung paano nila ginamit ang kanilang confidential fund ng Department of Education at saka ng Office of the Vice President. Huwag po nilang pagtakpan ang iisang tao lamang. Dapat po ang loyalty nila para po sa interest ng bansa, hindi po sa isang tao lamang. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next interpellator is Congressman Akop.
Honor, may I be recognized?
Yes, with the indulgence of Congressman Akop, the COMSEC is recognized.
Your Honor, we would like to acknowledge the presence of Senior Deputy Speaker Aurelio Dong Gonzales Jr. from the 3rd District of Pampanga, Deputy Majority Leader Alfred C. De Los Santos from Ang Provinciano Party List, and Congresswoman Micaela Angela B. Swansing from the 1st District of Nueva Ecija. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Kong Akop.
Mr. Chair, may I proceed?
Yes, please proceed, Congressman Akop.
Marami pong salamat. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. And before I proceed with my interpellation proper, Attorney Pua.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Would it be correct that you stated in the previous hearing na only the Vice President and the SDO know where the confidential funds went?
Based on the documents, Your Honor, I would assume so.
Did you state that?
I was asked, Mr. Chair, I was asked, Your Honor, I think by Representative Castro, if I knew anything about it. And I said na sa totoo, wala po talaga akong kinalaman sa management or operation ng confidential funds. So if I remember correctly, and the transcripts would probably bear me out, tinanong niya, kung hindi ikaw sino? So I said, I would assume the signatories, Your Honor, of the certifications and of the other documents. And she asked me who, so I said the SDO and probably the head of agency.
So yung sagot po ninyo, it's a presumption.
Well, Your Honor, kasi hindi ko po alam kung saan...
Because you answered the question under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
And therefore, you stated the name of the Vice President and the Special Dispersing Officer. That they're the only ones who know where the confidential funds went.
That is correct, Your Honor. No?
That
Because
is why I asked
based
you
on the documents, yes.
whether you stated this statement in the last hearing.
Yes, Your Honor. But just to clarify, I mentioned that it was based on the documents, Your Honor, because the documents would point that way.
Kasi kung titingnan ko yung statement po ninyo, kung wala nang ibang nakakalam kung saan napunta yung pondo, ay dalawang bagay lang ang nangyari. Di ba? Kasi either ibinulsa ni VP o ni SDO o ginamit sa ibang bagay ni VP at saka ni SDO. Hindi po ba?
Your Honor, please, I wasn't...
Hindi, yun po yung sagot
but
ninyo.
I wasn't alluding to that, Your Honor.
I beg your pardon?
I wasn't alluding to that, Your Honor, if I may beg your indulgence. Opo.
Pawa, correct me if I'm wrong. Di ba? Yung pondo allocated sa office. Tama. Nag-cash advance sila from Land Bank. Tama. Land Bank, nag-cash advance sila doon, dinala sa opisina. Ang makaalam na lang doon ay yung head of office or head of agency at saka yung special disbursing officer. Tama. Di ba ba? At yung special disbursing officer, yun yung mag-allocate kung saan pupunta yung gagastusin yung pondo. Di po ba? Sagutin niyo ako, Kowa. Do you agree with me? Yes. Pakisabi sa mic para marinig po lahat.
With your permission, Your Honor, yes po, Your Honor.
Yes. And therefore, kung yung liquidation or clearing process ay hindi totoo at bogus, ibig sabihin, nagamit yung pera sa ibang bagay. Would you agree with me, Kowa?
Based on your statement, Your Honor, and based on which you said that the liquidation or the documents are bogus, so we presume that the funds, no other evidence presented, were illegally disbursed.
Hindi po ba kayo kumbinsido sa mga sagot ninyo at saka sa mga katanungan na aking makasama na yung DEPs or documentary evidence of payments or acknowledgement receipts ay puro may diferensya? Di po ba? And therefore, pag yung liquidation instruments, part of your clearing process or liquidation process, ay mali-mali na, ay saan napunta yung pera? Tell me. Dalawang bagay lang po. Kasi dami ko na naimbestigan na ganito nung nasa pulis ako saka sa PCINP. Di ba? Either ibinulsa or ginamit sa iba. Either way, mali. Di po ba? Would you agree, Kowa?
If the liquidation po is bogus,
Kasi Hindi naman napunta doon sa totoo eh. Doon sa clearing instruments na binigay. Di ba? Kung naibulsa, masama, ninakaw mo na eh, di ba? Ngayon, kung ginamit sa iba, technical malversation yun. Would you agree with me, Attorney?
That is assuming it was not used as confidential expense po.
Mali na nga yung clearing instrument sa liquidation process eh. Yung mali yung pag-clear at saka pag-liquidate, what is your conclusion?
That the funds were not used as confidential.
Supposed to be used.
As
As it is supposed to be
It's
used.
supposed to be used.
Yes. That is the logical conclusion. Di po ba? Would you agree with me, Madam Attorney?
Personal opinion, yes, Mr. Chair.
Ha?
Personal opinion po, Mr. Chair, yes, I would have to agree.
Ewan ko. Pero kasi sa dami na naimbestigahan ko, ganun ang nakikita ko eh. Kayo naman, ang tagal nyo na sa COA, hindi nyo pa rin nakikita yon. Di ba? Kasi if your liquidation or clearing process is wrong, di definitely yung kung saan pinuntahan yung pera, hindi po dun sa tama. Could you give me an instance na mali yung liquidation process, tama yung pinuntahan ng pera? Pursuant to your guidelines.
Yun nga po, Mr. Chair, personal opinion, if the confidential funds were not used as it is intended to be used, it's already technical malversation.
Yes, kasi kitang-kita naman na yung paggamit po nila sa pondo, parang nilegalize lang nila by their submission to you, yung DEPs nila, o kaya ARs, or acknowledgement receipts. Di ba? Na mali-mali. Would you agree with me?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Kasi yun ang nakikita ko na nangyari, process eh. Nag-withdraw sa land bank dahil nandun yung pondo na confidential fund. Dinala sa opisina yung SDO. Hindi ko alam. Kaya nga hinahanap namin yung SDO para tanungin namin kung saan napunta eh. Paano niya inallocate yung pondo eh. But as it is, yung liquidation instruments ay mali-mali po eh. Kaya sigurado ako, hindi napunta sa tama rin yung pondo. There are only two things na pinuntahan yung pondo. Nagamit sa iba o ibinulsa. So ayaw nyo matanggap yun. Ako kaya kong tanggapin. Kasi marami na akong dinaanan na investigasyon. Na ganun. Natameme kayo? Ha? Di ba? Could you please tell us? Kasi marami nangyayaring ganito eh. Which, I think, you know. Kasi hindi lang naman doon sa OBP yan, tingin ko. Okay? So, pwede po bang malaman? Yun pong mga certification na ginamit po yung security group ni Vice President. Tinanggap din po ninyo.
Mr. Chair, hindi po. Yung proof sa rewards ni OVP, hindi po.
Hindi.
Kaya po na-disallow yung payment of rewards.
Sa DepEd.
Sa DepEd po kasi, parang na-deem namin na independent party yung nagbigay ng certification. So,
Pakilapit lang yung...
since na din namin na independent na group yung nag-issue ng certifications, we accepted the certifications.
So, tinanggap ninyo
Opo, Mr.
yung
Chair.
yung certification galing doon sa office ng Vice President Security Group.
Hindi po. Yun ang hindi po namin tinanggap since parang kasama din po ng OVP po yun eh. Pero yung sa DepEd po kasi, ibang party na po kasi yung nag-issue ng mga certifications.
Ayun yung natanong na nung last hearing
Yes,
yung mga
Mr. Chair.
Philippine Army units
Yes, Mr. Chair.
na nag-conduct ng Youth Leadership Summit.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. But would you agree with me that the office of the Vice President is separate from the office of the VPSG?
Yes, Mr. Chair, but they are the group that is specifically, it's like yung PSG po ni President na specific na naka-assign kay VP po.
Kaya nga. And would you agree with me also that the office of the security group of the Vice President would have their own funds?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and therefore would not need the confidential funds coming from the Secretary of the Department of Education and from the Office of the Vice President. Would you agree with me?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Wala kasi dito yung mga kwan eh. Dapat yun ang tatanungin eh. Now, are you aware na there were 787 acknowledgement receipts where there were no names but there were signatures?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You're aware of that. And there were 302 ARs that had unreasonable names. Would you agree also?
Unreasonable names, Mr. Chair.
Unreadable.
Unreadable. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Then there were 5 names repeated.
That was not an observation, Mr. Chair. Yung repeated names po, hindi po namin naging observation.
Hindi nyo nakita yon. Okay. And insofar as the confidential fund of the Department of Education is concerned, yung location ng where the YLS were conducted did not match locations where information to support this YLS were supposedly bought. Would you agree with that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. May specific areas po yung certification.
Yes. Now, would you also agree that there were identical entries, amount expended, and number of receipts for the second and third quarter of 2023 for entries on provision of medical and food aid?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
It's not very unusual naman po since
I beg your pardon?
it's not very unusual naman po since pwede naman po talaga mangyari.
So usual
na,
yung nangyayari yon.
Hindi naman po usual pero hindi naman siya ganun ka-unusual.
Oh, sige. Whether it's usual or unusual, is it in accordance with the joint circular?
Sa joint circular po kasi documentary evidence of payment lang po ang requirement.
Sa pakisagot lang yung tanong, whether usual or unusual, is it in accordance with your joint circular?
Since the document was submitted
You
po,
think
yes,
they are?
po, yes.
So it's your opinion?
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. May we go to yung kwan, yung acknowledgement receipts or DEPs. Now, we have examined yung DEPs or acknowledgement receipt which were used to liquidate the confidential funds And I would like, Mr. Chair, to make the following statements from the examination. May nakita po na mga acknowledgement receipts that all appear to be signed by the same pen. Would you agree with that also, Madam Kawa?
Yes, Mr. Chair, since either blue or black po yung...
Yes, kaya nga. Makikita po natin ito sa color ng ink.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Which is a very distinct shade of blue na may shades of black. I think it's there shown. Yan di po ba yung acknowledgement receipts na nasa inyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And wala po kayong napansin?
Yung ni-note lang po namin is yung mga iba ang date, yung mga unsigned. Yun po, Mr. Chair.
Ganon.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to manifest that all these acknowledgement receipts are under the names of different persons, pero wala po dyan yung naulit. Dyan po sa 10 na yan. But if we look at it, the names and signatures of different persons appear to be written with the same pen with a distinct ink on different dates. I think this is highly irregular. Bilang ako, isang investigador. Now, Madam Attorney, you confirm that you have received these acknowledgement receipts as part of the submissions of the Office of the Vice President to liquidate their confidential funds?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. Now, would you agree with me that these 10 acknowledgement receipts appear to be written with the same color of ink? Yes?
Like I said, sir, it's either blue or black po kasi yung ink. So,
Gusto ko lang malaman yung sagot po ninyo.
yes, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you. And this is a distinct shade of blue na almost black. Parang may gradient po siya. Tama.
I cannot remember.
Kaya nga ikaw,
ng
sabi mo,
Mr.
ang sagot
Chair.
mo, it's either blue or black eh. Kasi parang naglalaro yung ink na ginamit sa blue or black.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Common
Yeah.
naman po yun na nakikita namin either blue or black ang signature.
When you say common, sa lahat po ba ng opisina na inaudit niyo, ganyan?
Either blue or black. Yes, Mr.
Blue or
Chair.
black din? Sa lahat ng opisina ng gobyerno na inaudit ninyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Like, kami rin, sir, either blue or black po ang ginagamit namin.
Ha?
Either blue or black din po yung ginagamit namin.
Yeah. And I would like to show kung ano yung ink dun sa pag-imbestiga namin eh. Yan. Yung kulay. It's Prussian blue. Would you confirm that this is the same or very similar color as the ones in the ARs that were submitted to you?
Hindi ko na maalala yung itsura, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Tingnan po natin yung kwan. Yung pinirmahan ni Assistant or ASEC Ortonio. Hindi po ba parehas yung pinakita ko na Prussian blue?
Mukhang parehas, Mr. Chair.
Ha?
Mukha pong parehas.
Parehas. So, it's the same ink used by ASEC Lemuel Ortonio, the Assistant Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President. Tama?
Mukha pong pareho, Mr. Chair.
No. Now, Mr. Chair, there had been also observations that there are acknowledgement receipts which bear the same or similar handwriting. Parehas po ang handwriting. May nakita rin po ba kayong ganon, Madam Attorney, na halos parehas ang handwriting doon sa mga ARs?
Hindi naman po kami experts sa handwriting, Mr. Chair.
Hindi naman kailangan ng expert para makita ko minsan yan eh. Comsec, pwede ba ipakita yung kwan? Yung picture ng halos parehas ng kwan? Ng handwriting? yung AR dated July 27, 2023 and July 25, 2023. Kung pwede ipakita. No problem. Hindi maikwan. Saan ba sila?
Sir, may I be acknowledged while we're waiting for ICTS to fix the technical problem?
Yes, Comsec, you are acknowledged.
Your Honor, we would like to recognize Honorable Julian Jam Baronda, Deputy Majority Leader from the Lone District of Iloilo City, and Honorable Crispin Diego Ping Remulla, Vice Chairperson from the 7th District of Cavite, Your Honors.
Attorney, bago natin, kasi nagkakaroon ng technical problem, pwede bang magtanong din ako ng, kasi hindi ako naliliwanagan dito sa, yung, there is a deficiency, I think, that you have noted, that the payment of rewards to informers must be supported with documents evidencing the success of the information gathering and or surveillance activities on account of the information given by the informer. Ito
Yes.
po yung ginamit dun sa yung YSL.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ano po yung ang aking pagkaintindi rito, correct me if I'm wrong, na dapat may makuha ng information na ginamit yung confidential fund and that an activity was conducted because of that information and that information gathering and that activity were successful.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Tama po ba yung
Tama po.
pagkaintindi ko?
Tama pa, Mr.
Now,
Chair.
if I may ask, how would you know or how would you be able to find out na merong information na nakuha muna before they have conducted their YSL?
Wala po kaming information on that. So, either may separate sila as part nung purchase of information and then separate yung rewards or nabayaran na siya same with rewards.
Pero requirement po nyo yun, di ba? Requirement na circular.
Kaya po yung yung
Because
additional requirement.
that is precisely the reason why you will justify the buying of information,
Yes,
which would
Mr.
lead
Chair.
to a successful event or operation.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Di po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Kasi ginagawa rin namin nung nasa servisyo ako yun eh. I know that.
Yes, Mr.
Pero
Chair.
parang pagkaintindi ko sa inyong clearing instruments, parang hindi, just because there was a certification that the YSL YLS pala were successful, tama na yun. Parang gano'n ang pagkaintindi ko. Samantalang nung kami ang nasa serbisyo, ang requirement is that ipapakita namin na may information kaming binayaran and because of that information, an operation was conducted and it was successful. Hindi ba dapat gano'n?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Pero in the case of the confidential fund of the OVP and the DepEd, hindi ko nakikita yon.
Yun nga po kaya ni-require namin sila mag-submit ng additional documents. And yung nag-review po, naging sufficient na po yung certification from yung 5 certifications.
And that is enough to show na tama po yung ginawa nila. Just because nag-submit sila ng certification that YLS was conducted and it was successful? Di ba ang concept dapat nun is you use confidential fund to buy information. And because of that information bought or acquired, you conduct an operation.
Yes,
And
Mr.
that
Chair.
operation should turn successful.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ganun po yung requirement sa amin nung nasa serbisyo kami. Intelligence fund.
Yes,
And basically, they are the same.
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So, bakit po naniwala kayo sa certification lang na successful yung pag-conduct ng YSL?
Since yan nga po, independent na agency po yung nagbigay ng certification, and sabi naman po niya na because of the YLS nga, wala pong na-influence ng mga bata, we deemed it successful. Compared po dun sa yung sabi niyo po kanina na yung sa VP SPG group, ang sinabit lang po nila was a listing of the activities of the Vice President, which is wala naman pong information kung may success ba na may successful activity ba na nagawa because of the information they have gathered.
Yun yung sa security group.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And is there any way that you will determine that the confidential fund of the OVP and DepEd, these funds were used sa activity ng VPS security group? Kasi they have their own funds. That was the first question I asked you a while ago.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
That the Presidential Security Group and part of that is the Vice President Security Group, may pondo po sila naka-allocate talaga.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, but they were not able to show, if I will appraise yung documents, they were not able to show that confidential funds of the OVP and the DepEd were used in such activities.
Yes,
Can you
Mr.
see that they were used?
No, Mr. Chair. Kaya nga po, hindi naman siya na-consider since yung list of activities lang po ang sinubmit nila, which is, alam nila since sila naman po yung kasama ni VP sa mga activities na yun.
But anyway, hindi pa rin yata tapos page. Ready na, sir. Ready na? Pakishow nga yung yung acknowledgement receipts dated July 27, tsaka July 25, 2023. Wala pa rin. Ipakita mo na lang sa kanya. Madam Attorney, papakita ko na lang sa iyo yung observation namin. Yan lang, tingnan mo lang yung receipt na yan. Because I will ask questions. Okay? Pwede. Did you notice na isa lang ang gumawa nito?
Mr. Chair, sorry, tinignan
yun
ko
lang
lang.
sinasabi ko Kaya tingnan mo. You observe it properly. Ayan na. Okay na. Ayan. Nakita mo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Would you confirm that these were submitted to your office?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Now, if you observe, kindly observe the letter J. Tama po ba na halos parehas yung letter J dyan?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Tama rin po ba na parehas din yung color ng ink na ginamit at saka yung lapad po ng pagkasulat?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Would you be able to state, Madam Attorney, na these two receipts were written by the same person?
Probably, Mr. Chair.
Probably. Pero these are two different acknowledgement receipts indicating different dates.
Yes,
and
Mr. Chair.
indicating different payees. How can that be?
Pwede naman pong either of those two persons wrote the same and then someone else
So that is
signed.
regular?
Ah,
No.
I'm not saying regular po, pero it
Hindi
could
nga,
happen po.
tinatanong ko nga is, nagkakaroon tayo ng observation. Now,
Yes, Mr.
do you think this is regular? No.
No.
Thank you. Huh. Mr. Chair, makikita po natin dito na there are certain things na irregular insofar as the DEPs or acknowledgement receipts submitted by the two offices doon po sa COA. Now, I would like to point again another observation which we have made. This time, an acknowledgement receipt with the name KV that repeats in OVP and DepEd acknowledgement receipts. Kindly show yung OVP at saka DepEd acknowledgement receipts. O, parehas lang yan. Nandun sa OVP, nandun pa sa DepEd. Hindi nyo napansin ito.
Hindi po, Mr. Chair, since na-audit siya ng magkaibang time.
Okay. Pero would you confirm that the two ARs parehas ang pangalan na KV?
Hindi ko na maalala yung exact document, Mr. Chair.
Sige, yeah, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Again, Mr. Chair, pwede po bang ipakita natin yung last AR dated 12/30/2022? Sinabit din pa ito sa inyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ha?
Yes.
Yes.
Basta lahat po ng sinubmit namin po, Mr. Chair, sa inyo, galing sa amin po.
Oh, sige. Yun ang binigay nyo sa committee.
Yes, Mr.
Tama,
Chair.
na nabasa namin.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. The name would read, tama po ba? Mary Grace Piatos?
Piati?
Ha?
Piati?
Piatos.
Piati?
Ang pagkabasa ko, Piatos eh.
Y po yung last?
Y, hindi S.
May ano po siya eh.
Yun o, tingnan mo.
Y po. Since masyado nang mababa yung tail.
Okay. Now, sa tingin mo, totoong tao yan? What's your opinion?
It could be a person.
Could be a person. Pero, would you know na merong restaurant na Mary Grace ang pangalan?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Cafe
At meron
Mary
ding
Grace.
Piatos na brown ng potato chips?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Would you know that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Anyway,
It's
at
Piati.
least alam mo rin pala mga yon. Now, Mr. Chair, I would just like to repeat what I've said a while ago na everything na tinanong ng aking mga kasamahan tungkol sa documentary evidence of payments or acknowledgement receipts ay karamihan po ay hindi po totoo. And therefore, if hindi po totoo, hindi natin malalaman kung saan talaga napunta yung pondo, yung confidential fund, until and unless we would be able to grill yung dalawang SDOs. The SDO of the Office of the Vice President and the SDO of the Department of Education. Si Madam Acosta yata, tsaka yung isa. So, we can only surmise, Mr. Chair, na yung pondo, dalawa lang ang pupuntahan nun eh. Kagaya ng sabi ko, sa bulsa or nagamit po sa ibang bagay. Both hindi po tama. Kasi kung ginamit sa ibang bagay, and I think the lawyers of COA would agree with me that there's technical malversation. Kasi iba ang purpose ng pondo, ginamit sa iba. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marami pong salamat sa opportunity.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Acop. The Chair would like to recognize the Deputy Speaker, J.J. Suarez.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Kanina ho ay pinakikinggan ko po yung mga katanungan ng ating mga kasamahan dito sa committee. Kasama na rin po yung mga tanong ni Congressman Romy Acop. At nakakapagbalik tanaw po tayo ng kaunti. At naalala ko po yung panahon na nagkakaroon ng Senate hearing sa Napoles na parang ganito at ganito din yung mga lumalabas na maraming mga acknowledgement receipts na di umano fabricated, di umano gawa-gawa at parang hindi po maipaliwanag kung paano po ito tumutugma base po doon sa pondong nailaan para sa kanya. Gusto ko lang po tanungin yung COA, base po doon sa ilang mga acknowledgement receipts na ipinakita sa atin ng ating mga kasamahang mambabatas, meron po kami napansin doon na parang 200 na acknowledgement receipts na signature lang, walang pangalan. Ito po ba ay pumapasa sa qualifications ng Commission on Audit?
For now, sir, ina-accept namin yung signature lang. Although, from here onward, siguro po, require namin na name at least name and signature.
Because I think we really have to look into this matter strictly. Kasi pag sinabi mong acknowledgement receipt, tumatanggap ka.
Yes,
Meron kang tinatanggap na pera, goods, or services from government.
yes.
And how can you substantiate if that person in that acknowledgement receipt exists kung signature lang? So, is there any COA memorandum or policy when it comes to acknowledgement receipt guidelines?
For now, since ina-accept po namin yung signatures lang, wala po kaming ibang basis kundi yung sa joint circular. But we will try to parang supplemental na po yung mga ibang COA issuances.
No, my
I will-
question, ma'am, is there a policy by COA when it comes to requirements of acknowledgement receipts? What are the requirements in that paper so that COA can deem them unacceptable?
May I be permitted to speak, Your Honor?
Yes, Ms. Sofia Gemora, you're recognized by the Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor. As to the regular audit, I'm very aware with the confidential fund because it has a joint circular, as a parameter. So in COA, pardon me, or I cannot recall the memorandum, but we have this rule that we can reimbursable expense, what you call RER receipt, reimbursable expense receipt is acceptable up to 1,000 pesos and below. Other than that, of course, we need as it is now, an invoice, and if any, signature, it would, of course, accompany the full name of the recipient or those that signed on the particular receipt.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, that's the memo that I was pointing out to Ms. Remora. Meron po talaga kasi yun sa COA na kinikailangan full name ang nakasulat doon. At nabasa ko na rin po yun. Kaya nga po nakakapagtaka dito po sa 612 million pesos where acknowledgement receipts were submitted by the Office of the Vice President and by the DepEd Secretary then, ang dami po talagang red flags na nakita po ng committee. So unang-una ho, signature lang. Pangalawa ho, merong migrant beneficiaries. When I say migrant beneficiaries, they received funds from the confidential funds of the DepEd and they receive funds from the confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President. Other than that, there are also instances where individuals received funds many times, numerous times, from the confidential funds. Other than that, may instances din po na nakita namin na yung mga safe house na lang po na binanggit ni Chairman, parang hindi po namin masyadong maunawaan kung paano ka gagastos ng 15 million pesos per quarter on safe houses under the Office of the Vice President. Bukod pa po doon, yung safe houses na binabayaran din under Secretary of Education. So of course, documentary requirements are submitted to you. But you know, this, Mr. Chair, raised a lot of questions and red flags from my point of view. Kaya nga po, nakakalungkot na wala po dito yung mga SDO at saka si Ms. Lopez na nalaman po pala natin ay umalis po kagabi papuntang Los Angeles, California, because these are questions that they should actually be answering. Am I right, Yusek Poab? These are questions that they should be answering.
Based on the documents, Your Honor.
Based on the documents, correct, because they're the signatories to the documents. So with that being said, siguro para sa COA, tulungan nyo na lang kami. I think we need to come up with better guidelines, especially when it comes to requirements of acknowledgement receipts, so that ito pong mga pagmamagic na nangyayari ay hindi po mangyari. Dahil ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito ay pera ng mamamayan. Di naman to pera ng isang tao, pera to ng Pilipino na dapat po natin inaalagaan.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Congressman Abante, you're recognized.
Gusto kong malaman kung tapos ng investigasyon ng COA dito sa those of disallowances na inyong binigay sa Office ng Vice President. Tapos na po ba lahat ng investigasyon?
Mr. Chair, dun sa notice of disallowance, inaantay pa po namin kung mag-a-appeal sila. So, hindi pa po final. Yung iba pong mga audit observation memoranda na issued po nila, nag-submit na po sila ng compliance and yun po yung mga pinag-aaralan po namin ngayon.
Okay. So, hindi pa kayo tapos, ano po?
No, Mr. Chair.
Ilang porsyento na po ang natapos nyo? For example, like, mayroon bang 50% or 60% or 70%?
Considering po na gusto nyo magpaka-strict kami today, may mga nire-re-audit po kami and hindi pa po namin ma-issue yung next, which is yung notice of suspension.
Okay. So, hindi nyo maaaring masabi kung ilang porsyento na ho, lahat?
Mr. Chair, parang tatlong tao po yung, tatlong ibang team members yung iba-ibang AOM, so hindi ko po masabi ngayon yung exact na yung status na po ng...
Sa mga natapos po ninyo, Mr. Chair, meron ba kayong nakitang improper disbursement o mga violations po ng disbursement ng confidential fund?
Mr. Chair, hindi ko pa po nare-review yung audit, so hindi ko pa po masabi ngayon, Mr. Chair. Nasa auditors pa po.
Meron pa ho bang ibang pondo na aside from the confidential fund na inyo pong inibisigahan?
Sa ICFAO po, Confidential and Intelligence Fund lang po kami.
Ayun lang po ang inyo
Yes,
inibisigahan?
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yung
Yun lang po
buong
ang...
bansa po.
Oo. Nakikita ko nga, ikaw yung sa intelligence and confidential fund ka lang muna, no?
Yes, Mr.
So meron bang iba dito na kasama natin sa COA na iniimbisigahan pa ang ibang mga pondo ng Office of the Vice President maliban sa intelligence and confidential fund?
Your Honor, if I may, we have the regular audit team, which we are representing here. Regular audit team for the Office of the Vice President. Our team is here.
So, therefore, Mr. Chair, when you speak of the regular budget of the Vice President, so are you able, meron ba kayong in-issue? Did you issue any notice of disallowances on some of the regular funding of the Vice President or no?
May I recognize, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
For the
Fahad Tumawi,
audit
you're
of
recognized.
CY, calendar year 2023, we have not yet issue, or we do not issue any disallowances po.
Chairman.
Yes, Congressman Paduano.
In relation to the query asked by Vice Chair Abante, gusto ko na po linawin COA. Kasi ang tanong ni Chairman Abante refers to, and your answer, I think now, if I'm right, refers to other items. Kasi tapos na kayo doon sa notice of disallowance, di ba?
Yes, Mr.
Tapos na kayo doon.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yung sagot mo kanina, question of notice of suspension, at saka, magkaiba yun.
Yes, Mr.
Ibang items yun. Linawin na natin, but
yung
the
ibang-
subject, sandali po, let me finish first. But the subject matter of this investigation refers to the notice of disallowances that you issued. Di ba? Magkaiba yan, boss. Tapos na sila. Tapos na sila dito. They're waiting for the reply within 6 months.
Appeal po, Mr. Chair.
And the deadline will be on?
February 2024.
Oh, yun. Again,
February
Mr. Chair,
5.
I have pointed this out during the previous hearing. Pag EUM kasi, okay, you issue an EUM for the Confidential and Intelligence Fund for the Office of the Vice President. Nag-issue kayo ng EUM and they're allowed
15 days to
15
answer.
days. After 15 days, you validate the reply, then you issued a notice of disallowance.
Notice of suspension.
Notice of suspension if continuing.
Yes,
Tama,
yes,
di ba? Now, then after that, you issue a notice of disallowance.
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
now, kaya ang sagot dapat doon sa tanong ni Chairman Abante, tapos na kayo.
As to yung ND po, Mr.
Kaya
Chair.
nga Kaya nga kasi yung subject matter dito is all about the notice of disallowance. And we will talk about it again if somebody will file a resolution to further investigate on the point that you have raised with regards to the 3 items that is not yet final.
Opo.
Yung yung audit nyo, di ba?
Opo.
With regards to Confidential and Intelligence Fund.
Yes,
Tama.
Mr. Chair. Yes,
So
Mr.
malinaw po yun. That's why in aid of legislation with regards to this investigation, Mr. Chairman, again, I would just like to reiterate, yung question of the timetable given to the agency with regards to the notice of disallowance is too long. Sabi nga nila, justice delayed, justice denied. Why it will take 6 months? Sige nga, bakit 6 months? Because they have already submitted all the necessary documents. And it turned out, in your investigation, in your audit, lumalabas na may mga problema. That's why you issue a notice of disallowance. Di ba? Kaya Mr. Chairman, I hope question of the charter or MCs, no? Or even a bill or a law should be passed with regards to confidential and intelligence fund, Mr. Chairman, should be filed and passed by this Congress. Kasi, kaya nga ang question of question daw ng proprietedness of this investigation, sa case lang po ng Confidential Intelligence Fund, we have to file a bill and pass a law with regards to it so that it cannot be abused anymore. And only those agencies of government that will be given such fund. And second is question of the COA, the mandate of COA. It should not be 6 months after issuing a notice of disallowance. It should be put as part of the provision of the charter or the mandate of COA, Mr. Chairman. Well, in fact, I will discuss later. Siguro nakapagandaan nyo na yung Memorandum Circular 97-002 in relation to the mandate of BTR, in relation to special cash advancement, in relation to SDOs. Yun yung mga bagay na dapat we have to legislate laws. Kasi kahit yung banding law natin, napakatagal na yun. Di ba? And memorandum circulars lang pinapalabas natin. Well, in fact, may issue pa doon sa SALN. And I will discuss it later. But again, Mr. Chairman, just to point it out and for the record, question of notice of disallowance with regards to the confidential fund being tackled in this hearing was already settled. The question now is yung 6 months. Tama po? And you just wait. Because we have, again, if somebody will stand to deliver a privilege speech or file a resolution with regards to the continuing audit being made by your department, doon sa Confidential Intelligence Fund, and that's the time we will discuss again the 3 items you have mentioned. Tama?
Tama po, Mr. Chair. Na-confuse lang po ako kasi for the past how many hearings, ini-include po sila kasi yung nagtatanong tungkol dun sa subsequent AOMs. Kaya po, yun po yung nasabi ko.
And we cannot discuss it because the germane of this, of the privilege speech of the Honorable Valeriano is all about the documents you have submitted, the notice of disallowance. Tama?
Hindi lang po yun yung pinasubmit sa amin, Mr. Chair. Even 2023 po, pinasubmit sa amin.
But is it part of now the committee, the COA audit report that you have submitted? It is part of the notice of disallowance that being issued by COA?
It's a different period
Oh,
po.
kaya nga eh. Kaya sinasabi ko, we will discuss lang muna with regards to the notice of disallowance.
Yes, Mr.
Which is, mamaya, magtatanong din ako dyan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Congressman Abante, you're recognized.
With the query of Congressman Paduano and your answer of being able to finish all the investigations, and you said that medyo na-confuse ka lamang, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, you're telling it to us now with finality that all of the investigations for the Confidential Intelligence Fund of the Vice President is already finished. That's what you're saying?
No, Mr. Chair. Yung 2022 lang po, ang ND, yun na po yung last na touch ng ICFAO po. Yung 2023 po ng OVP at 2023 ng DepEd yun po yung ongoing ang audit.
So meron pong ongoing na investigation on that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Kaya po
Okay.
sabi po ni Mr. Chair na yung ND lang po ang i-discuss. Kasi yung iba po, sabi po niya, ongoing po yung audit.
So you're giving that 6 months, no? The finished investigation and the ongoing investigation, 6 months, ganun po ba?
No, Mr. Chair. Yung 6 months is for the notice of disallowance po. which is nasa rules po namin.
Mr. Chairman, 6 months for the office of the Vice President to comply and answer that
To
notice of
comply.
disallowance.
Oo.
And then, commission proper na.
To-
the commission
to appeal
proper,
po.
sorry?
To appeal po, yung proper
Kaya nga,
to
yung appeal, di ba?
Opo.
Then the commission proper after 6 months
They
will
will
decide.
rule on it po.
Pero Mr. Chair, ang sinabi niya kanina, natapos na yung 2022. Di ba?
Yun po yung
Ang
subject
ongoing
ng
ngayon
ND.
is 2023 and 2024.
Wala pong 2020.
At 124. So therefore, ano yung sinasabi niyong 6 months na notice of disallowances na kino-comply dapat ng Vice President?
Yung confidential funds po ng 2022 ng OVP, umabot na po siya sa notice of disallowance. So from the time that we issued the notice of disallowance, they have 6 months po to file their appeal with the commission proper ng COA. Yung iba pong dinidiscuss natin pertains to confidential funds ng 2023 po, hindi pa po yon notice of disallowance. Na AOM pa lang po siya, kaya hindi pa po siya comparable dun sa ND ng 2022 na subject to appeal na po.
Mr. Chair, Congressman Acop made a statement kanina about cash advances that was made. Ano? So, let me ask, ilang cash advances yon na ginawa nila?
Apat po sa Office of the Vice President and 3 po sa DepEd.
And all of those are deposited sa Land Bank, correct?
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Land Bank, did you allow cash advances? Do you allow cash advances?
Sino po ang sasagot sa Land Bank?
Is that one of the rules? Do you allow cash advances?
AVP, Campo Sano, you are recognized.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized, please?
Yes, Attorney Rafael Yap, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to apologize, but we'd like to manifest that we cannot answer the question right now because we received the invite to attend today's hearing after 4 p.m. yesterday. So we beg the committee's indulgence to allow us to provide the info once we collate and cleared po sa aming office.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for Land Bank to submit to us all the informations on the cash advances made by the Office of the Vice President. Can you please do that, Mr. Chair?
So we will provide, Mr. Chair, we will provide the info after once cleared na po sa aming office po.
But once again, Mr. Chair, my question was not actually answered. My question is, do you allow cash advances?
Chairman?
Congressman Paduano.
Mr. Chairman, of course, cash advancement, cash advancement for the OBP will not be a subject of decision for the Land Bank. But siguro ang tanong is, do you allow check encashments? Do you allow? It's just a matter of policy. Do you allow?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes. Yung check encashment. But cash advances, of
Not
course,
cash advances.
no, check encashments. So you allow?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Chairman? Anyway, may mga tanong pa ako kasi ang susunod si Kong Maika pa.
Mika Swansing. The next interpellator is Congresswoman Mika Swansing, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, if okay lang, with the indulgence of Kong Mika, I have a few related questions dun sa mga nabanggit din ng iba nating kasama.
Okay. Okay po sa inyo, Congresswoman?
That's okay, Mr. Chair, because my interpellation will be in a very different topic po.
Okay. Yes, the chair recognizes Congressman Manuel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Kong Mika. Mr. Chair, sa COA din po address yung mga tanong ko dahil ilang beses na na-mention yung pag-justify ng paggamit ng confidential funds through payment for purchase of information, aside sa iba pang mga binanggit na dahilan kung saan daw ginastos. Mr. Chair, yung purchase of information, isa din siya dun sa mga lumitaw na may maraming mga acknowledgement receipts na kaduda-duda actually. Kaya Mr. Chair, ang tanong ko po sa COA, nung binanggit po ng OVP tsaka ng DepEd na may mga pinagamitan, may mga taong binayaran in exchange for the information that they provided di umano sa mga ahensya na ito. Mr. Chair, usually anong mga aktibidad po ito? Maliban doon sa na-mention na yung mga Youth Leadership Summit, para daw mangyari yun, ganyan. Ano pa yung ibang mga tipo ng aktibidad under OVP or DepEd?
Mr.
Attorney Camora, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, yung kung ano po yung nasa accomplishment report nila, yun po yung activities na pinagkakagastosan nila nung pondo po.
So, ibig sabihin, Mr. Chair, kasi yung sa OVP, for 2022, ito yung parang pahabol na nagastos in 11 days ng confidential funds. Ang activities po na ng OVP ay meron daw mga outreach program, merong mga pamahagi ng mga Christmas gifts, ganyan. Bahagi din po ba yon ng mga na-site na para maging successful ang mga yon, di umano, ay kinailangan ng impormasyon, kaya gumamit ng confidential funds?
Pag sa purchase of information, Mr. Chair, hindi po required kasi yung evidence of success. Required siya pag sa payment ng rewards kasi it presupposes na there could be a separate payment for the purchase of information and then separate po ulit yung reward for the success because of that information purchase.
Okay, so given that, Mr. Chair, so kung doon tayo particular sa purchase of information, yan, ano-ano pong mga aktibidad yung na-site ng OVP man or ng DepEd na kung saan kinailangan nilang gumastos for purchase of information using confidential funds?
Mr. Chair, marami po yung sinubmit ng BPSPG na list of activities ng information. And I think
Sige, Mr. Chair, like ano na lang pong mga tipo ng activity, kahit hindi po ma-enumerate, pero mabanggit po ano-ano yung mga kinds of activities na iyon.
like mga specific activities po ito, Mr. Chair, like for example, Nights of Rizal Supreme Council noong December 15, consultation with Barangay Chairman ng Maynila ng December 17, and then
Sorry, Mr. Chair, pwede po paulit para lang po mas malinaw. Ano po yung una tsaka yung pangalawang nabanggit?
Yung una po, unahin ko na lang po dito based sa listahan. December 13, Department of Education, 2022 Partners Appreciation Night in Mandaluyong. And then December 15, Knights of Rizal Supreme Council, 60th Year of Institute in Baguio City, Youth Campaign on Patriotism. And then December 17, marami po itong activities, mga Christmas activities sa Tondo, consultation with Barangay Chairman ng Maynila, in Manila, pasasalamat and update meeting with Barangay Batasan Hills, Quezon City, mga halos ganito
Okay.
po. And then coordination meeting with Task Force Davao in Davao City, and then Christmas activity with SPED students in Davao City. Mga ganitong nature po.
Okay. Mr. Chair, how about yung 2023 for OVP?
At 2023, Mr. Chair, ongoing pa po yung audit, so hindi ko pa po nakita yung list ng activities po nila.
Okay. Mr. Chair, how about 2023 DepEd? Liban dun sa mga Youth Leadership Summit.
Yung sa Youth Leadership Summit, yung sa 5 certifications po yun. Pero hindi po yun yung activity ng DepEd. Um,
Precisely, Mr. Chair, kaya gusto nating malaman, maliban doon, kasi lumitaw na dito sa committee na sinight yon ng DepEd, pero i-dispute din pala ng Philippine Army na gumastos yung DepEd for that. So, meron bang ibang mga DepEd activities na yun yung sinasite pa ng DepEd na ibang pinagamitan ng kanilang confidential funds?
Ito po yung based on their acknowledgement receipts, meron po silang abuse prevention and control within schools, anti-extremism / terrorism programs, anti-illegal activities operations, counterinsurgency. Yun po. And then under each activity, yun na po yung payment of rewards, payment of information. Yun po yung content nung acknowledgement receipts nila and yung accomplishment report po.
Tapos meron din pong mga naka-attach na acknowledgement receipts para dun sa purchase of information para sa mga yon.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chair, dun sa purchase of information, kasi bago pa man nag-grant ng confidential funds sa DepEd at sa OVP, edi nag-grant na sa iba pang mga ahensya. Tapos kapag purchase of information, edi parang wala namang niyang isang rate lang. So, Mr. Chair, usually, pag nakakarating na sa COA yung mga acknowledgement receipts or kung ano mang ebidensya, ano po ba yung range usually kapag merong mga nagpapasa ng ganong mga like proof na ginastos daw for purchase of information? Ano po yung kadalasang range kapag purchase of information yung pinagkagastusan?
Mr. Chair, iba-iba po kasi depende sa agency and depende sa budget nila.
So, Mr. Chair,
wala pong definite na masabi na this range to this range.
sige. So, kapag ganun, Mr. Chair, pwede din siya maging discretionary kasi ibig sabihin kung ano yung tansya ng mga officials na yun yung amount na necessary para ma-entice isang tao to provide information.
Part po nung cash advance na documents na sinasubmit nila is a physical and financial plan. So somehow dun sa PFP na breakdown na po doon kung ano yung sa tingin nila pupuntahan nung pondo po.
Okay.
So yun yung plan. And then later on, yung accomplishment report is yung actual kung saan po nila na-spend yung pondo.
So yung plan, chine-check yun ng COA bago aprobahan na, sige, i-grant yung confidential funds for that agency.
Yes po. Sa cash advance po.
Okay. Thank you po dun sa mga sagot, Mr. Chair. Kasi kung ganun nga yung lumilitaw na parang madali pa lang mag-imbento ng proof of payment. Lalo na based dun sa mga pinakita kanina, meron pa mga visual na pagpapakita sa ating mga kababayan na kung merong kahit sinong opisyal, lalo na kapag nasa matataas talaga ng mga antas, kung dumating sa punto na gustong gamitin yung pera ng bayan para sa sariling interes o sa mga masasamang balak, ay madali talagang malusutan yung current na systems na meron tayo na supposedly ay dapat nga lalo kung nagbibigay ng confidential funds, ang assumption dyan ay merong kumpiyansa or confidence dun sa kung kanino o saang ahensya nag-grant ng pera. Pero it seems na lalo pa kung purchase of information, yung isang madalas na isite, Mr. Chair, ay malaki yung room for discretion para magsabi lang halimbawa na okay, ganitong amount, bibigay ko sa ganitong tao kasi nagbigay siya ng information. Pero hindi rin, wala tayong sapat na batayan para masabi na naging effective na accomplish ng ganong mga purchase of information yung kanilang intent. And so to wrap up, Mr. Chair, lalo na I can really recall na noong 2022, doon pa lang nung formally na na bahagi ng budget proposal ng OVP tsaka DepEd, yung confidential funds, ay ginagamit pa actually yung bahagi ng ating constituency, mga kabataan at mga bata, para i-protect di umano yung kanilang interest, i-defend yung kanilang welfare, protektahan daw sila mula sa mga gumagamit ng droga, child abusers, child exploiters. Pero as it seems, Mr. Chair, I don't think merong mga members ng committee who are actually convinced na naprotektahan natin yung mga bata at mga kabataan dahil sa pag-grant ng confidential funds both sa OVP tsaka sa DepEd. So, I really hope na maliban sa mapigilan na natin yung ganitong abuso sa confidential funds, yung mga hindi rin talaga nagpakita na katiwa-tiwala sila, no, sa paggamit ng pondo, dapat hindi na natin mahayaan na magkaroon ulit sila ng access sa ganitong pondo, lalo na pera ito ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino. Pinaghirapan, nagbabayad ng buwis para sa pinagbabudgetan ng Kongreso. Yun lang, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Congressman Manuel. The next interpolator is Congresswoman Mika Swansing.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Zia.
With the indulgence of Congresswoman Swansing, the permission, of course, of my lead colleague, I'd just like to make a manifestation, a quick manifestation, Mr. Chair.
What is your manifestation?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, well, apparently, I shared the disappointment of some of the members here. I, for one, want to ask questions, no, to certain individuals, invitees who apparently are not around. So I noticed we're hitting a roadblocks here, no, by their consistent refusal to attend these committee hearings. But then again, Mr. Chair, may I request perhaps to the chairman, I believe we have already sent an invitation to the DBM. Yes, and the questions that I have, Mr. Chair, is on not only on the utilization of the confidential funds, but as well as the manner by which these are being requested from DBM, how it was requested, when it was requested, Mr. Chair. So I believe, Mr. Chair, if with the indulgence of this committee, that I would also like to reiterate the invitation that we have sent already to DBM, particularly, Mr. Chair, on the Bureau on Budget Management, that's DASI, because I noticed the request from the OVP has been made through this office, and the correspondence between the OVP and the DBM is also between the Office of the Budget Management Bureau, DASI, and as well as the budget officer of the OVP. So if I may request, Mr. Chair, that by next time, we also send an invitation on this particular bureau under the office of under the Department of Budget and Management, so that for this humble representation, should there be any non-attendance again of the individuals that we are requiring them to attend in the next committee hearing, at least I have somebody to ask for clarification, Mr. Chair. So again, that would be my simple manifestation. I'd just like to put that on record, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Adjong. The COMSEC, please take note of the manifestation of Congressman Adjong.
Noted,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Congressman Mika, please proceed to your interpellation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if with the indulgence of the chairman, I would like to move to a different topic. So throughout the hearing, we've been talking about the confidential funds and how the OVP has dispersed the confidential funds. But with the indulgence of the chairman, I would like to move to looking into the regular funds and the disbursement of the regular funds of the Office of the Vice President.
Please
Mr.
proceed.
Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if I may I request the COMSEC to please flash some slides. I prepared some slides to illustrate the figures in terms of the pattern of expenditure of the Office of the Vice President from the years 2021 to year 2025 as proposed in the National Expenditure Program. Mr. Chair, I would like to highlight a couple of things on this slide. Before I start, I would like to put some caveats. I was able to put figures in 2021 and 2022 based on the COA annual audit report. So these are reflective already, Mr. Chair, of the actual expenditures. For the years 2023 and 2024, we are still waiting for COA to release the annual audit reports. So I based the approximate of the expenditure on the amounts on the GAA, or the General Appropriations Act. And then for 2025, Mr. Chair, I based it off the proposal of the Office of the Vice President for the budget as reflected in the NEP, or the National Expenditure Program, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, before I proceed, I would like to pose a question to COA. COA, nagawa niyo na po ba yung annual audit report ng OVP for the year 2023? Kasi as per checking po, wala pa pong naka-upload sa COA website for 2023.
Ms. Sofia Gemora, you are recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor. As to the publication for the 2023 annual audit reports, not only for the OVP but for all of the COA audit reports duly transmitted to respective auditees or management, our chair, in relation to the General Appropriations Act that was released for 2024, issued a memorandum that publication of the COA audit reports duly transmitted to the audited agencies will be uploaded by December 1 onwards, which publication will include the AAPC, or the status of action taken by the management on the audit observations therein or in the audit reports, and as well as the APMT, which concretize the validation or a report validating the action taken of the management on the audit observations on that year or on 2023 annual audit reports, ma'am. Your Honor.
Noted on that, Mr. Chair. In the absence of the COA report duly published by COA, Mr. Chair, we will stick for now to the values indicated in the GAA for the year 2023 and 2024. Mr. Chair, please allow me to make general comments on the patterns that I've seen from the year 2021 to 2025. Dalawa po siguro yung gusto ko pong puntuhin dito po sa ating obserbasyon. Yung una po, kumpara po sa amount na nagastos ng Office of the Vice President ng taong 2021 at 2022, makikita po natin na mas malaki po o di hamak na mas malaki yung expenditure po ng Office of the Vice President para po sa mga kategorya na ating pong inilatag dito po sa ating slide. Pangalawa, Mr. Chair, napakalaki po nung across the different years po, napakalaki nung pagtaas noong expenditure ng Office of the Vice President para po sa iba't ibang mga kategorya. So, Mr. Chair, I would like to highlight two observations. First, the expenditures seem to be a lot higher from the years 2023 and as proposed in 2025 as compared to the previous expenditures before 2022. And number two, there's the jump across the different years seems to be very, very substantial for the different categories highlighted, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, iisa-isahin ko po yung iba't ibang mga kategorya para po atin pong mahimay at mailatag yung ating pong mga obserbasyon. Yung una po, Mr. Chair, ay patungkol po sa travel expenses o traveling expenses ng Office of the Vice President. Makikita po natin dito na kung atin pong titignan yung notes to financial statements ng COA, ay dalawa po yung pwedeng maging kategorya para sa traveling expenses, local and foreign travel. Hindi po pa natin alam sa kasalukuyan yung breakdown nitong mga amounts na ito kasi hinihintay po natin yung COA audit report. Pero dito pa lang, Mr. Chair, makikita po natin na parang ang taas. Para po sa taong 2023, mula po sa 20 million ng taong 2022 at 10 million lamang nung taong 2021. Bigla pong tumaas yung traveling expenses na OVP sa halos 60 million pesos bawat taon. At consistent po yun, taong 2024, 62.5 million at doon po sa proposal para sa 2025, nasa 62.5 million din. Dito po, Mr. Chair, nais ko po sanang tanungin yung COA. Meron po ba kayong ginagawang assessment or audit patungkol po sa nature of the travels? Tinitignan niyo po ba kung ito ba ay necessity? Necessary po ba ito to the fulfillment of the duties or the mandate of the Office of the Vice President? Tinitignan po ba natin kung reasonable yung gastusin sa bawat travel? Ano pong klaseng audit yung ginagawa po ng COA patungkol po sa traveling expenses, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, may I...
Yes, Mr. Tomawis, you're recognized.
Congressman Swansing, Mr. Chair, for the traveling expenses po, we base our audit on the Executive Order 77, wherein may mga prescribed rates po doon for the travel abroad and local travel, and may mga parameters and guidelines and procedures, and also we have also the documentary requirements ng COA, wherein may mga requirements required to be submitted to substantiate or to validate yung mga travel expenses na na-incur ng agency.
Mr. Chair, thank you, sir. That's from the audit standpoint po eh. Maganda din po kasi sana kung meron po sana, Mr. Chair, na representante mula po sa Office of the Vice President. Maganda po sana nating maitanong na bakit kinailangan nila yung ganito kalaki na gastusin na traveling expense po. Kasi po nung sa mga previous years po, di ba po halos kung titignan natin, almost 20% lamang or 1/5 lamang nung kasalukuyang gastusin ng OVP yung traveling expenses. So, alam ko po na hindi masasagot ng COA yung dahilan kung bakit dumami yung travels. Pero sana po mabigyan po tayo ng linaw ng Office of the Vice President kung ito bang mga travels na ito ay necessary po at ano po yung papaano po ito nag-a-align doon po sa mga objectives at mandate ng Office of the Vice President.
Mr. Chair, may I answer
Yes, Mr.
po?
Tomawis, you are recognized.
Based on our report po, dun sa travel expenses, since ang OBP for the 2023, nag-full blast sila kasi nagkaroon po ng expansion, which is yung satellite offices and also yung disaster operations nila. Wherein the other previous administration po kasi wala pong satellite offices. That's why lahat po ng travel expenses in relation to the operations in the satellite offices, doon kaya po lumaki yung amount of expenses pertaining to the travel expenses.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask COA as a follow-up, yung travel expenses po ba, yan ay travel expenses ng mga staff ng satellite offices?
Based on this, kasama po.
Mr. Chair, maaari po bang ibahagi sa atin ng COA ilan pong porsyento dito po sa 59.5 million para po sa taong 2023, ilan po dyan magkano po dyan yung local travel versus foreign travel? May ibabahagi niyo po ba iyon?
As to the breakdown po, we cannot commit to answer the breakdown today po kasi wala po sa aming report as of this day po yung breakdown kung ilan po yung para doon sa staff at sa satellite offices.
Mr. Chair, siguro as an observation lang po, even naman po if we would look at previous administrations, ang nature naman po talaga ng jurisdiction ng Vice President ay national in nature. So, bumabiyahe naman po talaga yung ating mga vice presidents all over the country. So siguro po, yun nga, baka ang accounting factor lang po nun kung bakit tumaas ay dahil po dun sa mga satellite offices. At yun po siguro yung tanong natin, Mr. Chair. Dati pa, simula pa nung nagkaroon tayo ng pagtalakay patungkol dito, ano po ba yung necessity noong mga satellite offices na iyon kung napakalaki po nung epekto nun doon po sa mga expenses, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like to move to the second category po, which are the supplies and materials expenses. Siguro, Mr. Chair, isa po sa makikita natin dito ay, sorry po, Comsec, previous slide lang po. Ayan po. Yung second category po ay yung supplies and material expenses, Mr. Chair.
Yung slide, please.
Ayan po. Ito po siguro, Mr. Chair, yung medyo kailangan natin pagtuunan ng pansin. Napakalaki po nung tinaas, noong expenses pagdating po sa supplies and materials. Noong taong 2021 po, yun ay nasa 92 million. Para sa taong 2022, 53.5 million. Pero po sa taong 2023, times 5 po yung itinaas noong supplies and materials expenses. At patuloy po yung pagtaas, tumaas po siya ng 70 million sa pagitan ng 2023 at 2024 at tumaas palalo by 60 million. Mula po 2024 at 2025. Siguro, Mr. Chair, ang tanong ko po patungkol dito, pag tinignan po natin yung mga kategorya or subcategories under the supplies and materials expenses, titignan po natin, office supplies, welfare goods, drugs and medicines expenses, medical, dental, and laboratory supplies, fuel, oil, and lubricants, semi-expandable machinery and equipment, semi-expandable furniture, fixtures, books, at other supplies and materials expenses. Siguro po, tatanungin po natin, bakit po kakailanganin yung daang-daang milyon para po sa mga supplies at materyales na ito. So, Mr. Chair, dahil po wala po tayong representante mula po sa OVP na sasagot ng tanong na ito, kung maaari ko pong matanong muli sa COA, may ginawa po ba kayong audit o assessment patungkol po sa nature nitong mga purchases na ito?
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized po?
Yes, Mr. Tumawis.
Mr. Chair, the main reason po nung increase nung supplies and material expenses from 2022 to 2023 is reason po is nagkaroon po ng extensive na mga disaster operations during the 2023 at the same time po nagkaroon po ng satellite offices. So particularly po kung makikita niyo po dun sa welfare goods and expenses, yan po yung lumaki po talaga at dun sa other supplies and material expenses wherein mayroon po dun program po si Office of the Vice President about the pagbabago campaign, A Million Learners and Trees program po. So wherein yung mga distributions nila po doon or mga supplies na nagagamit, dito po na i-record. So kung hindi natin po kasi maki-compare sa 2022 kasi po magkakaiba po yung programs in the 2023 wherein dumami na po yung programs ni OBP. And then at the same time, if I may read the notes to FS po, doon sa welfare goods, the welfare goods expenses consist of relief goods and food boxes distributed to the disadvantaged individuals and families and to those affected by various calamities. It also includes the purchase of rice intended for the relief operations. And nandito rin po na ang reason po ng increase is due to the extensive relief operation in CY 2023 conducted by the Disaster Operations Center and various satellite offices. That's for the welfare goods po, kaya po siya tumaas. Then for the other supplies and material expenses, nag-increase po kasi may mga purchase schools bags and other supplies po na binibigay po ng Office of the Vice President relative dun sa pagbabago campaign po na program po nila.
Mr. Chair, siguro po ang tanong ko po sa COA, para kasing program project-based yung mga expenses po na nabanggit ninyo, chargeable po ba siya dapat sa MOOE?
Yes po. Yes, Mr. Chair. Depende po kung ano yung nature.
Siguro,
And,
go ahead, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, may I be
Yes,
recognized?
Ma'am Hemora, you're
Thank you,
recognized.
Chair. Of course, ma'am, with the programs comes the different items that will be used for the implementation of the program. So if there will be, like earlier said by Mr. Fahad, there were ano ba yun? Mga welfare goods that were procured and other bags for the ano ba yung program? Pagbabago Kaday program. So, these are recorded in the MOE for the procured items that were related to the implementation of the different programs implemented during the year.
Mr. Chair, dahil po napakalaki po noong halaga na ating pinag-uusapan dito sa supplies and materials expenses, meron na po bang liquidation na naganap para sa mga ito? Na-audit na po ba yung liquidation, lalo na po doon sa mga disaster operations, doon po sa mga bags, school supplies? Natapos na po ba yung liquidation and audit?
Mr. Chair, for the
Yes,
audit of
Mr. Tomawis.
2023, natapos na po namin yung audit. So based on an audit, meron na po kaming audit report and mga findings which are included na po sa annual audit report ng 2023. So which is pertaining po dun sa deficiencies noted on the distribution of welfare goods as also for the deficiencies noted on the Pagbabago campaign program. So we have issued audit observation memorandum, and we also included in our report all our findings on that programs po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think COA highlighted something very important. Ito pong welfare goods, which is a huge percentage of the supplies expenses po, ay subject po ng AOM. Tama po ba? Opo. Kung pwede po sana nating makita yon, Mr. Chair, kapag pwede na pong maipakita sa atin ng COA, dahil po gusto nating siguraduhin na gastos po ng tama itong mga yung halaga dito po sa welfare goods at doon po sa pagbabago program, dahil po subjected siya sa AOM. Mahalaga po para sa committee din na ito na makita po kung ano yung findings ng COA. Lalo na po doon sa deficiencies, siguro po sa mga acknowledgement receipts po ba yan, sa liquidation reports, mga resibo, ganun po ba? Sa procurement process po ba yung findings ng COA, Mr. Chair?
Your
Yes,
Honor,
Ms. Kimora.
yeah. For the different audit observations included in the annual audit report, we have already, more or less, it's on like for example, the distribution list of the welfare goods and other items that were distributed to the different recipients of these programs. So, if the audit report, we have already submitted to the oversight body of the Congress, which is to the Speaker of the House, which we are, of course, mandated to in, what's this, September, no? Or July, I think, or August, we already submitted. But of course, if the committee would request a copy, we would readily provide you with, even if before the December 1 publication, subject to the, of course, approval of the Commission on Audit Chairperson, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, kung pwede po nating tanungin sa COA, kung pwede niyo pong i-disclose sa committee natin ngayon, how much is the amount in question under the AOM? Ilang milyon po?
Wala tayong amount.
How many hundreds of thousands of pesos?
Guidelines lang naman, ma'am, yung... Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, Mr. Tomawis, you're recognized.
Actually, yung as to the amount po, is hindi namin masasabi na itong amount na to is may irregularity or may somewhat. But then, our audit kasi po is, or audit report is, or this result is pertaining dun sa mga deficiencies observed dun sa existing guidelines. So more on the internal control po ng distribution of welfare goods yung mga nakita naming may deficiencies wherein they need to improve it para po ma-secure na yung distribution po is talagang nakakarating po sa mga tao.
Pero, di ba po, nakita ko na po kasi yung previous AOMs nyo eh. Mako-compute mo more or less eh. How much is the amount in question under the AOM? Kasi po yung previous chart po, di ba, na ginawa ko po at linatag ko po sa komite. Kaya ko po nagawa yung mga numbers na yon kasi pag tinignan nyo po yung AOM, sa dulo ng AOM, may total amount po yun eh.